Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised. Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip to nerd and pop culture. My name's James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
Jody, Ethan Skinner.
Later on tonight, we're going to go into the fourth book in the Chronicles of Amber series, The Hand of Oberon.
Oberon!
But before we do that, counterclockwise, Ethan, what have you been up to?
I've been playing some more Metaphor. Who got to the point where there was a big old plot twist that I slightly saw coming, but is always...
It's actually a Western CRPG and not a JRPG. You got played.
Halfway through, it changes into Elden Ring.
Yes. Oh, man.
Actual Elden Ring.
Souls-like Metaphor. Was the plot twist a metaphor?
Oh no, I need to get my refund. Oh no. But no, I'm still enjoying it. I think I've unlocked all of the party members I can have and I can acquire.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure I'm nearing the end of the game.
Mm.
Somewhere around there. I don't know fully, and I don't know how interested y'all are wanting to play it or anything like that.
I'm definitely going to eventually
At some point
play it because I
It is-
do.
It's fun. I'm extremely enjoying it, and I don't want to say anything so that would
Yeah.
to ruin
That's probably a good
y'all's
idea.
Surprise.
Yeah, I love Atlas games. It's just
Yeah,
I didn't-
Atlas is great.
I didn't get this one.
It is a twist that is followed up by an even bigger twist.
Okay.
Have you
Okay.
played Catherine?
Yes, I have played Catherine.
Yeah.
I love Catherine.
Yeah.
I've also played the full body.
I haven't played it all the way through. I haven't played it all the way through once yet with the full body.
They had the
experience.
full bodied on sale
Mhm.
over the holiday, and I picked it up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Catherine.
Catherine's great.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Metaphor and the book that we are going to discuss tonight,
Mm-hmm.
there was a show I watched.
Okay.
It is an anime.
Okay.
It is about a boy and a girl. They advise that, hey, my belief exists, but yours doesn't. So we're going to prove each other wrong.
And you hadn't watched this yet?
No,
How did I watch this before you?
That's
I don't know.
crazy.
because I didn't have Netflix at the time.
Oh.
We're thinking of a different show.
He's talking about Dandadan.
A kid loses his dong.
Yeah, this is on Hulu.
It's also on Netflix.
It's also on Netflix. Okay,
And-
I haven't had
and
Netflix
it is
in like
also
over
on
a year.
Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, the Japanese version of it is on Crunchyroll. The English version is on Netflix, and I guess the English version is on Hulu
The
as
English
well.
version is on Hulu.
English is on Crunchyroll as well.
Oh,
That's
wow.
wild.
Strangely enough, it's the French-only version. On
Yeah.
Hulu.
Portuguese.
Typically,
Portuguese.
Crunchyroll,
Portuguesa.
before they acquired Funimation, only had the Japanese version of animes.
I am
So,
shocked that I have watched a relatively new anime before you.
that's wild.
That is crazy.
I started it. I'm about halfway through it now.
No, you haven't even finished it.
I
Damn.
haven't finished it yet. No.
So you've only cried once.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it
man,
was
yeah,
very,
there's-
very sad.
Yeah.
Oh man, you haven't gotten to the nitty
Oh, yeah,
gritty
there's
yet.
one. There's
There's
one
one
episode
coming up that's gonna fucking punch you in the gut.
I got
Yeah.
to the Silk Acrobats.
You've watched that episode?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
That's
that's the saddest episode.
that's the saddest one.
Yeah. I'm like, why would you include this?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
Right.
man.
I
It was-
thought, I
it
thought
was
Turbo Granny was sad.
There was absolutely no need for that.
There, there was.
Yeah, there was no call for
That
for it to
show
become
likes to
sad.
subvert. You're like, oh, you're having a wacky, like fooly
Oh
cooly.
yeah.
Everything's going crazy and wacky, and they're aliens, and there's ghosts and all this shit, and boom.
It goes. Ghosts and aliens exist. Deal with it.
Yeah.
To
Fully Cooley went, boom, it's a metaphor for growing up and getting older.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, now I have to process this. And this is like, I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you the saddest story that you could possibly think of. Jesus fucking
the
Christ.
reason for the poltergeist.
I've watched Russian movies that are less sad than this.
Yeah. True.
they try to.
He's watched Andrei Tarkovsky movies that are
Yes.
sad.
I have too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
They're
try
pretty.
to subvert your expectations by saying, "Oh, I lost my dong and balls. I need to
Yeah.
get them."
Yeah, they make up for it though with
Yeah.
like heart punches.
Yeah.
There was
for real.
there was absolutely no need to yoink tears from my eyes.
Yeah, that is fucking
Yeah,
ridiculous.
you're gonna get sad over a prop later.
Yeah.
Not a prop.
Yeah, like a scientific prop.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Cool. Dandadan and metaphor. That's me.
Alrighty. Keeping the clockwise, counterclockwise motion going. We'll go Jody.
So the first thing I've done is I started watching Brandon Sanderson's podcast, unintentionally or intentionally blank. That's what it's called. And it's he's got different guests on there, but most of them are part of his like crew
Yeah.
of people that keep up with his like, signing of autographs and lectures and having his publicity stuff, and also how to keep up with his Cosmere, which is like near infinite. So the two I watched recently was one where they talked about time travel, like what are their favorite time travel movies, and how people get it wrong. His friend, which I cannot remember his name currently at the time, that does the show with him mostly, talked about how Bill and Ted, the first Bill and Ted movie, is one of his favorite time travel movies. And they talk about how like it only really has like one kind of plot hole with the way they do that, but for the most part it's just fun. And then Brandon Sanderson said that one of his favorites is Groundhog Day, because technically you're stuck in a time loop, so they count that as time travel in their conversation. And I thought that was pretty quirky and fun. And so then they talked about what was the other episode? So he was asking his friend, he's like, have you ever seen any of the Fast and Furious movies? And he goes, like, I've seen the first one. He's like, you don't need to watch 2, 3, and 4. But you do. I need you to watch all of them after that, because that's when they give up on these being real movies.
Yeah.
And everybody
This is true.
becomes a superhero, and cars don't physics do not apply to cars
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The
And-
amount of cars crashed into airplanes that are
Yeah.
in flight is
Yeah.
exponentially growing.
It's like you apply like Looney Tunes physics to everything that's happening. Like if you jump off a moving car onto another moving car and it lands, you're fine.
Yeah.
So
You think you could parachute an army of vehicles out of a plane and expect them to drive perfectly?
so
Yes.
because of that, now I have to go back and watch these fucking terrible movies. So I'm gonna go back and eventually try and watch all of the Fast and Furious movies, because I've got to have context for when they start going off the rails.
What is it? I think they have 10 movies.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
There's a lot of them. There was a sale on PlayStation, which that normally there always is, and I picked up Gang Beasts, which is a fun
Yes.
game. I'm assuming, if not, that the people that made that game also made or were inspired to make Human Fall Flat. It's got the same physics in a way, but maybe not. I'm not sure. But that game's also very fun. Gang Beasts it's wild. It's a wild time.
Mhm.
It is. The controls are very awkward and obtuse. There are so many different things your buttons do, depending on like how many of the buttons you're holding down or pressing, correlating to what you're trying to do. But it's a fun time. Played that. And then played like a sequel. I'm not sure if it's a sequel to Super Hot called Mind Control Delete. I don't know, Brady, have you heard of Super Hot? Do you know
I've
what
heard
that
of
is?
Super High, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, Ethan, have you played
Yeah,
Super
I know
Hot or
Super
know what it
Hot.
is? Have you played it?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. And I played it. Yep.
Yeah. Have you played Mind Control Delete?
That's
which
what I'm
is-
trying to figure.
yeah. It's just more Super Hot. It's more
Yeah.
levels of Super Hot, but they add more things like, start with hearts. So now it's not just one hit. You have like a couple of hits where, you can figure out what's going on. For the listeners, if they've never listened to us talk about Super Hot before, it's an indie game where you're basically in a virtual reality world, and you have these like red crystalline figures coming at you, sometimes with guns, sometimes with katanas.
Time moves when you move.
Time moves when you move. However, time moves when you don't move. It just moves very, very slow. you can still get got if you're not moving. Eventually, the bullet will get to you. And you're just trying to like dodge bullets and dodge other enemies. And I just love being able to throw a fish at somebody holding a crowbar, and then they lose the crowbar because they're stunned by it, grabbing the crowbar, hitting them with it, then throwing the crowbar into someone who has a pistol, grabbing that pistol, shooting somebody else, and continuing on in that path. Most of the levels last somewhere between like 1 to 3 minutes, depending on how fast you're trying to move through it or progress through it. They made the levels even shorter in this one. There's just more levels in this one. Really enjoying that. And then I've been watching a lot of episodes. A lot of the same episodes with the Game Grumps, where this musical duo called Space Bear. That's SBASS Bear.
I always say it as Sabaz Bear.
Right. Where they took different clips from different gameplays, let's plays that the Game Grumps have done, and then added their own music to it and remixed some of the audio from the actual episodes to make it like into like a little they had like these little like different, sound bites, and then sometimes they have like full-blown 3-minute songs that they've done, remixing the original audio with what they've done. And it's just what Dan said in one episode was that he loves well-crafted stupidity, and it's basically that. It's just well-crafted, just the dumbest, funniest shit. Whether or not you watch the Game Grumps or you watch any gameplay stuff in this current time period of 2025, this is some really well-done, entertaining content. So that I watched the trailer for the new we were talking about this outside, the Marvel movie.
Fantastic Four?
No, Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
Asterisk.
And so that looks interesting, but I agree with Brady. I'm not going to go see it in the theater. I'm probably going to wait until the end of the year, get Disney Plus for a month, and binge whatever they've got on there for me to watch that I'm not going to go see in the theater.
Yeah, there's not going to be any like Marvel movies that I see in theaters unless it's really got to blow me away in trailer.
They're having a hard time still, like as far as like the quote unquote MCU, to get into a nice routine of building up to another big story, because they never took enough time off really to reset after the events
after
of
Endgame. They really didn't have.
They didn't have anything.
They were just kind of throwing.
Afterwards.
Yeah, they just
they're
kind of
throwing
spaghetti
spaghetti against the wall.
I know. Me and Bianca will go watch Captain America Friday,
Right?
And,
which I've actually heard good things about.
Right.
And I've actually heard mixed things about it.
I've only heard
But-
like one or two.
But again, I'm not gonna say anything until I see it.
Right.
They're gonna have something with Tiamat, like the
Oh,
statue
yeah.
of Tiamat, because they've already shown
Oh, yeah,
clips
yeah.
of it in trailers.
From what I've heard, basically, the giant thing that was from the
Celestial.
Eternals, is made of adamantium, and
Yeah.
everybody's trying to get it.
So I think the Eternals tried to set up like a larger thing with the Celestials,
Yes.
but I think because of the low reception of the
Right.
the Eternals,
Yeah.
they kind of faltered a little bit, and they're trying to pick that back up a little bit.
The
They're trying to
problem
pick
with
that
the
back up.
Eternals is that it was set in the Marvel universe.
Right.
Like it shouldn't have been set there, because everything that they do, when you try to mesh it together with all of the other stuff, which is what had been going on until then, like they have trained you to, every single time that a new movie comes out, how does this mesh with the other Marvel universe?
Right.
It just clashed there were so many questions that it asked, and it didn't make any sense with the universe. And that's because in the comics, the Eternals are damn near their own thing. Like they rarely mess with, like, they were kind of just, Jack Kirby went off and fucked off and did his own little thing there, and then that's
in
it.
both companies, because when he left Marvel, he went over to DC, and that's how you get New Genesis and Tachyon, the All-Father, and
the New Gods and all that.
and then you get Orion, and that's where you get Darkseid, or Darkseid gets linked up with that.
Yeah, but even
goes
that stuff in DC was eventually like really started to be used more in the DC. In Marvel, like, yeah, they like, you know, had the Eternals had stuff to do with the other people in Marvel, but most of the time it was just their own things.
Yeah, it was like, you know, back during the early 90s, even like for the you know, the Executioner song thing was like a big deal, but that was like all pretty much like to do with X-Men mostly. You know, they kind of kept all those properties separate. Every once in a while, there'd be like
back in the day, X-Men would have a big, gigantic event, but it would only affect the X-Men.
It would only affect
usually
that part of the universe. It, you know, every once in a while, they would go cosmic with something. But again, it was still like, you know, like the whole Madam Web thing with Spider-Man. Like, they fucked that up big time. But, you know, that was part of a bigger storyline, but it was mostly to do with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't cross over, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll see what happens. Like, they're running into the same problem that DC ran into when it was trying to push like its own multiverse kind of thing, where it's like, you know, and they're also learning though that they don't always have to do that, because the Fantastic Four trailer, I mean, they might tie into something at the end of it we don't know about, but
it seems like it's set in a different time period. Like, it seems like it's set in the 60s.
I want more of that,
which is probably the best thing that you could do with the Fantastic
I want more
Four.
of that kind of thing.
I just want Galactus. That's all I want.
I just want this movie. It looks really, Fantastic Four looks really good.
Yeah, Fantastic Four looks good. I'm not like thinking about watching it in theaters, but I will probably watch it when it comes out to where I can watch it on like Disney Plus or something like that. Because I'm just so tired of Marvel now.
The oversaturation of it.
Well, I mean, it's not oversaturation for me because I haven't been interested in it for the most part. Like, it's been spotty, right? So
yeah, if you're in and out of it, I can see how it hasn't like completely worn you out.
I was burnt by when Endgame came out. I was done, and then Black Widow. They had Black Widow after that, and I'm like, I don't care about Black Widow. This movie,
I did not see Black Widow.
I still haven't seen it.
Well, the problem with Black Widow is that it should have taken place. It should have came out right after Civil War, and before Infinity War,
right? Because like after Endgame, it's like that character's not really.
But the kind of studio head, not Kevin Feige, but the studio head above him didn't believe that women comic book characters would sell, so he pushed it. He kept making them push it back. So that's why it doesn't make any sense, because it happens before Endgame.
Right.
And it's like, we've already seen Endgame.
Right.
And we know the Black Widow dies. Why the fuck would I watch this? Even though it's a decent movie. It's not the best, but it's a decent movie. But yeah, I just can't, like, I don't want to put any more effort into watching because I feel like I'm feeling like I have to, like it's work to watch a Marvel movie, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't.
You have to watch like 20 movies before and like
and TV series,
3 TV
and it's like I can't do this. I'm not keeping up.
What's going on.
And on top of that, they mostly turn into just generic action movies with a formula that's very boring. So there's that as well.
But I've heard Brave New World kind of goes back into the it's kind of like a spy thriller type thing with superheroes. So
and there's another Jurassic Park thing coming out.
Yeah, that
I was told about that. I
saw the trailer for it. I
knew that they were. It's very funny that they are rebooting Jurassic World and not Jurassic Park. That is what's very, very funny with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't watch that. I haven't cared about any Jurassic Park movies in a very, very long time.
I watched the first Jurassic World movie and I was like, oh, it's okay.
Rebirth.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that series wasn't going to go very far when my son, who is a Jurassic Park nut, like read the books and all this shit, like he's into it. He watched Jurassic World and was like, it's fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is, But I haven't watched one. I watched Jurassic Park 3 and that was the last Jurassic.
I never watched 2 and 3. I skipped those.
3 is not great. It has like one good sequence with some pterodactyls.
Alan, wake up.
Oh man. Alan. There's a
That's
there's a
that's
dream with a
that's all I
talking
know.
velociraptor.
Oh man.
That's
Um,
all I know of 3.
And
And that's all I want to know.
2 has some good parts, but
Mhm.
it also has some really dumb parts.
Right.
You only need Jurassic Park. You only need one.
You only
Like,
need the first one.
watch the first one, and that's all. That's all you really need.
Yeah,
don't
you only
need
needed
The-
one Dark Man too, but they made a second one.
The
I think they made more than suit too.
They made 3.
the
Yeah.
new movie has Scarlett Johansson as
Yeah.
lead with Jonathan Bailey.
They just completely rebooted it, and it's again. I find it very very funny that hey, we're gonna reboot this. Let's reboot Jurassic World, which
Yeah.
is the
that came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. God, time. Yeah.
let's don't go back to Jurassic Park. Let's go back to Jurassic World. What the fuck?
One more thing. So when I was watching the Thunderbolts trailer, I was like, "Is that Florence Pugh?" And it's not though. It looks
That is
Is
Florence.
it?
She's,
Oh.
Yes, that's Florence Pugh.
Okay.
she is in Black Widow, and she's the best part of Black
Oh
Widow.
yeah, no
Her
doubt.
and then David Harbour is
Right.
also in Black Widow. Like
Yeah,
them two make the movie.
yeah. So they'll probably make this one too, I'd imagine.
Yeah, she's great. She's also she also showed up in the Hawkeye show, but I never
okay.
watched it.
I watched it, but I don't remember her being in it.
Yeah, she had like a back and forth with Kate Bishop.
Okay,
a lot.
I probably just blanked that whole
Oh, yeah.
TV show
You
Why
must
do
out
I
of my
have
brain.
only one fork?
Mhm.
Like
Um,
I live alone. It's like very weird.
But yeah, she's the best part of that.
Yeah,
of
of
that movie,
course.
hands down.
That's me.
All right.
There you go. Brady, if you would, what have you been up to?
Yeah, still haven't been up to very much. They had a sale in Amazon for some movies, so I got some, and I was able to pick up a horror movie that I had been wanting to watch for a while called Oddity. It is a movie that was put out by Shudder, which if you like horror movies, that's like the best place to watch horror movies. That's like the best bang for your buck streaming service. If you like horror movies, that's it.
Actually, AMC Plus because Shutter comes with that,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's like $1 or $2 more.
Okay, yeah.
and you get an AMC Plus, which
Okay.
has a lot more stuff on it.
But it was directed. I can't remember the name of the director, but he also directed a movie that I'd heard very good.
Damian McCarthy.
Yeah, I had heard very good things about that I haven't watched, called Caveat. Apparently he likes to make movies that have weird objects in them. This is a movie about this. Are you seeing the bunny from Caveat
I saw Caveat, and then I also saw the other thing in Oddity.
Show me.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Caveat.
It's got like a weird bunny in it.
I think I've seen Caveat.
I've heard good things about it, and I just haven't had a chance to watch it because it's for some reason it never came out on Blu-ray. But
Mm-mm.
but Oddity, it's about this woman gets horrifically murdered in her they bought this like weird castle house thing
Mm-hmm.
out in the middle of nowhere. That they're in England, I believe, and she's like staying over there while she's fixing it up, and her husband has to work like nights. He works at a psychiatric ward,
Mm-hmm.
and this dude shows up and is like, hey, and like she has this little it's like an old timey thing, so she has like a slot to open up, and like the guy shows up at the front door, and he's like, hey, I saw somebody go in there with you, you need to let me in so I could go look for them. And she's like, I'm not gonna do that. And he's like, look, I saw him, I swear to God. And fast forward, she ends up horrifically murdered. Well, she also has a blind twin sister who they're played by the same the same person. And it's like a year later, and she goes back to the house where the former husband is staying with his now girlfriend to try and figure out what happened. And she brings along this wooden man thing that she just sets up and it's really weird.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it is.
That's a solid pass for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
there's a
want
couple
that.
of parts of this movie that got me hard that really came out of nowhere. But it's a pretty good movie. It's very creepy. The creepy atmosphere. There's some good. I feel earned.
Jump scares.
Jump scares. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
But I feel that it was earned.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. There's some little twists in it. I kind of saw them coming like right before they happened, but I didn't like in the beginning. I wasn't like, okay, this is the twist.
Right.
It took me a little while, like right before they talked about it. I was like, okay, I see where this is going.
I'm going to make a prediction. That wooden mannequin thing is possessed. I do not do possessed objects. I absolutely will not watch that.
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
the blind sister runs like an antique shop that she has like haunted objects in.
Absolutely not.
Man, Ethan, you would have loved Friday the 13th, the TV
in
series.
fact, the caveat rabbit shows up there. Like,
shit!
I was like, oh shit, that's the little rabbit. I was like, I really need to watch that movie because I heard really good things about that one, and I've heard that it is scary as fuck. But this one's pretty good. I liked it a lot. It does a lot of different things that I wasn't expecting. Just the awkwardness of the sister with the now girlfriend. There was kind of like the tension of that was very interesting. And just how weird the sister acts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a good movie. I'd definitely say check it out. It is interesting. I don't think it would mess with you as bad as you think it would, Ethan. There is something to the man, but it is
Mannequin.
not. Yeah, the mannequin thing, and we're calling it a mannequin, but it's like carved.
It
like-
looks like a wooden statue.
Yeah. The
Like a wood
story she
golem.
gives is like some witch that they knew gave it to her mother, like on some
I love that.
on their
already.
wedding day.
I love that concept already.
And she kept it like and she keeps it in like a trunk.
As you do.
You know,
As you
you
do.
got to.
Yeah,
You got to.
It's
I mean, what are you gonna do? Return it or like re-gift it?
Yeah.
That's not something you could just do on a
You
whim.
can't take that down to J.C. Penney's.
I believe that was the plot from Oculus. I have this old haunted camera.
No, it was a mirror.
Oh yeah, the mirror. It's like I have this mirror.
you're thinking of the Goosebumps episode "Say Cheese and Die."
You're probably not wrong.
I remember that episode.
I get my goosebumps and my Are You Afraid of the Dark crossed.
I do too.
Yeah.
Except I know that Are You Afraid of the Dark had the fucking like the fucking pool monster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking. That was definitely Canadian.
See, I
Yeah.
didn't have as much. I wasn't able to watch Nickelodeon very often, so that one I didn't. I didn't
Right.
watch Are You Afraid of the Dark as much as I watched like
Right.
Goosebumps.
Right.
Yeah, that's me. If that sounds interesting, I'd definitely say check it out. It's a pretty solid movie.
So it's me now.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
so let's do this. So Marvel Rivals, no more jokes. We're coming up on the end of the first half of the first season, and they're going to be redoing people's ranks in ranked play, which is going to be kind of a neat thing to see how it shakes everything out. I finally got my 6-at-1 kill playing Scarlet Witch using her ultimate, which can kill everybody if you get them all in time.
Nice.
I will never achieve that again, and I have video proof that I did it, so I was very happy about that. But my big thing for this week, there was this football game last Sunday. You may have heard of it. Its name is Licks. It's Super Bowl Licks, LIX 49, or however you want to do it. Don't talk about the game. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for their successful victory in Super Bowl 49. But it's all about the halftime show, baby. Kendrick
Yes.
Lamar, for me, blew it out of the park. Oh my God. Start to finish, that was one of the best performance, in the truest sense of the word, that's one of the best performances that I've seen at the Super Bowl, maybe ever. I think Prince edges it out for me personally. I think The Weeknd edges it out. Of course, the original Michael Jackson. I think
Right.
that for its historical significance. And I think U2, the Super Bowl right after 9/11. I think that halftime show was absolutely amazing. But he gave everybody
killed it.
he gave everybody what they wanted, and they for a lot of it they didn't know what they wanted, and apparently part of that was Serena Williams crip walking
Uh-huh.
on the now fading memory of one Aubrey Graham,
Yeah.
otherwise known as Drake. Holy
Yeah.
hell! He even snuck Euphoria in there on there. So I'm very happy about
Time
that.
to get a diss track on the one of the biggest stages at the time.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
133.5 million people
I
watch.
haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing, but I've watched.
Oh,
bits and
it is
pieces.
amazing.
Choreography was completely on point.
Yeah, there's-
everything he wanted to touch on completely on point.
I read a lot about
Yeah,
like the
Samuel
symbolism of.
Jackson introducing him and just appearing throughout the entire performance.
Like, it's safe to say that They Not Like Us is like the most popular diss track ever. I think it's at least when it comes to like hip hop, because even like the big ones that you think about, like those were never. They didn't sing those. They didn't get a chance to get sung.
Those weren't club hits. No.
They
Like,
were also like super underground too. Most of them were like.
Well, some of them were, some of them
Yeah.
weren't. But like
No
this
No Vaseline by Ice Cube was not underground. Like he led
Yeah.
off with that as soon as he got away.
and like
from
Hit 'Em
NWA.
Up and things like that.
Hit 'Em Up.
But
Popularity wise, and like being able to like use it for forget the fact that someone is being dissed in that track. Just Mustard's underlying beat on that, just with the horns and everything there, was just fucking amazing. Holy shit!
well, just the fact that like people who probably might not even know that it's a diss track, when you say trying to strike a chord, the person's gonna say, and it's probably A minor. Like
Yeah.
they know that line.
Yeah.
if you didn't know it was a
This man went on television, one of the widest reaching things, and looked into the camera and said, "Hey Drake, I hear you like him young." What the
Yeah.
fuck? That is insane.
At that point, if you don't know that's a diss track and who that's delivered to, like again, 133.5 million people.
Yeah.
And 70,000 in the Superdome screaming pedophile.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he knew
People singing it word for word.
Yeah.
Except for a couple of uncomfortable old white people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He knew what words to strike out, what words to let the audience do. That was pitch perfect. That was absolutely pitch perfect. Again, popularity wise, I still think Hit 'Em Up. I think Hit 'Em Up's a bit stronger. Just because like
I don't even see how that I don't even
What
see
year
how
did Hit 'Em Up come out?
90.
that's early to mid 90s, because
Right.
that's when Tupac broke off for Death Row.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I will say this because, definitely,
I rarely give him the credit for it, but
96.
96.
Okay.
I rarely give him the credit for it, but
So-
I'll give him the credit for it here. The diss track Nas did on Jay-Z.
Right.
Ether.
Thank you.
Right.
I always remember the name until I need it and I
Yeah,
can't remember.
Ether's a classic.
Ether-
I'm not saying any of these are bad. I just think
Right.
like this is.
I would make the argument Meet the Grams is more vicious than Not Like Us.
I think that, like, for my personal take on it is this: when it comes to diss tracks and things like that, because I am just a tad bit older than everybody else here, and just to say this, like, hip hop has always, once it started breaking out, even all the way back to like 86, 87, when like Run DMC and Aerosmith or whatever, like, was always like popular but not like huge, right?
Yeah.
It was always like in the very popular, it's like, when you have The Chronic comes out, yes, it blows up compared to previous hip hop and R&B and rap music at the time. Still not global explosion yet. And it, when I compare certain things to certain time periods, when I say underground, I don't mean completely unknown. Like when Ice Cube had his solo album come out for the first time, it was pretty big. It wasn't globally huge, and it wasn't exploding everywhere. It was heavy rotation on MTV. Does not count for heavy rotation on radio at the time period. So when I compare those, I'm not saying that they weren't any more important or any less important. It's just a time frame is when it comes, especially when it comes to hip hop, is completely different when it comes to other pop music during the time periods when those things were more relevant. For example, in 1992, the person that or band that beat Mariah Carey on the Billboard Top 100 was Nirvana.
Yeah. Mhm.
That was like a big deal. That's breaking out. That's
Yeah.
globally breaking out. So when I say underground, I don't mean like, demo tapes that only 100 people have listened to. I mean that like as the majority of America was not listening to Ice Cube when that Ice Cube solo album came out for the first time.
Yeah, and that's what I mean when I say like
Right.
this is the most like
That's
popular
what
diss track
that's what
ever.
I'm. Yeah, I think I have to
Like-
agree with you.
Even for like the type of hip hop that is most popular right now,
Right.
Kendrick Lamar is not
huge.
he's huge, but he's
not
he's
breakout.
not in that part of it. Like
he is now.
Well,
People are getting
now
there.
yeah, kind of.
Right.
But like the type of hip hop that he does is still kind of
Right.
an older style of
Right.
hip hop. I mean, fuck this song won a Grammy. A fucking diss track won a Grammy. Like,
Right.
5.
won a lot of Grammys.
Five.
Record and song of the year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. So I don't. So and like people outside of people who follow hip hop like know this song.
right.
Like when somebody says mustard on the beat, like they know what the fuck that means. People who don't listen to rap or hip hop.
Right.
So that's what I'm getting by this. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
the parts that I've seen, I still need to sit down and watch the whole thing.
I
but
do
like
too.
it's
Yeah.
it is pretty cool.
If I had one complaint in the first third of it, his vocals were turned down compared to the backing track. And I think they really needed to flip that the other way. And I think they did.
Well, it gave people something to complain about that they couldn't
Yeah.
understand what he was saying, even though he was enunciating pretty well.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And if you're familiar with his work, you can hear everything out. That's just
yeah, I think even
Also,
if
when you're
not
doing the
familiar-
Super Bowl, you want consistency over like performance when it comes to like, people have like, different annotations with their
Mhm.
voice. They don't want you cracking, you don't want your voice cracking when you're like live in front of everybody on the Super Bowl.
yeah.
So they wanted to make sure to test the waters and make sure everything was matching up.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of complaining I've seen people do on the performance is like they don't know what's good.
I
don't.
will tell you this.
It-
Well, it-
ever since, with the exception of Michael Jackson, ever since there has been a Super Bowl halftime show that had like a big named superstar group or
Yeah.
artist, they bitch about something.
Yeah,
They
there
bitch
is-
about something.
There is a group out there who, if anybody is not going to be good enough, they're going to find a reason, regardless. Especially with this particular one, they were
Mhm.
going to find a reason. So like, people just want to complain, and it gives them
Validation.
It gives them validation. It also gives them eyes on there. There's the whole like outrage culture that
Oh,
we don't
yeah, it's
necessarily have to get
crazy.
into.
Yeah.
They were all like they were all like waiting with their fingers on the buttons as soon as
Right.
it started
Yeah, for sure.
to be able to say a whole bunch of shit about it to get people mad.
Mhm.
And the people that were getting mad probably didn't even watch the fucking thing.
Probably not.
But here's the thing: like you could have done something else for 12 minutes if you didn't want to watch this. Nobody forced you to watch this. There's a lot of channels. There's a lot of shit that you could have done on your phone. you know?
Well, like
just
you could have done the Puppy Bowl.
before they
you
had
could have taken a shit. Like
Before
you could
they
have went and
started-
taken a hard shit.
before they started having like like big super main pop stars that were like culturally significant for halftime shows, Budweiser used to have something called the Bud Bowl, which on another channel they would have 20 minutes of beer bottles animated playing fake football
Mm-hmm.
for 20 minutes. The WWE for like at least 2 years had a 20-minute wrestling show dedicated to the halftime.
Heat.
Someone had that. AEW or WWE did that like not very long ago. Like
It
within
was
the past
probably AEW.
5-6 years.
Maybe AEW. I'm
yeah.
not. I
I
don't.
want to say
recall the-
maybe the first year that they started,
The,
or the
uh,
second, or maybe going into the second.
The
year that
most
they did
famous
that.
one was probably one of the worst matches I've ever seen, and it was Mankind, Mick Foley against The Rock in
Oh,
a
yeah.
I Quit match with nobody in the stands.
Yeah, with the empty stadium.
It wasn't
yeah.
an I Quit match. It was just a empty stadium match.
Yeah.
I love that thing up until the end.
Yeah.
and then the shot.
Because it's a pre-recorded "I Quit" they used because he was part of the wasn't it?
No. Mankind won.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mankind won by using a forklift to pin the Rock.
Oh yeah.
And the forklift had the camera.
I remembered it the other way around, but I guess
I did
and
too.
the forklift had the camera,
Yeah.
so that when it was lowering down, it was lowering down on the Rock, and the Rock's being filmed being pinned.
Yeah.
By the
forklift. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting. I'm misremembering because there was an angle where they did do that, where the Rock made him quit, but he didn't quit.
Yeah, no, that was the the 15 chair shot. That was the reason why the Rock was going into that with the title, because Mankind held the title up until the Rumble, the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was vicious.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, Super Bowl 59 halftime show for me, one of the best all time. Thank you very much, Kendrick. We appreciate you on that. Gentlemen, we have feedback.
Feedback.
Yes, we like the feedback here. We like when people acknowledge what we do and try to add on to it. From our episode 3 from this season, Bus Chatter TMNT knockoffs. I can't think of the word Spotify. Good Lord, in my head. What the hell? But Spotify user Seated Boxer. Great show, fellas. The only thing you missed was Dinos for Hire, which was a comic that almost got made into a cartoon. They were actually aliens that looked like miniature dinosaurs that crashed their ship into the ocean. With no way to return home, their only logical choice was to become mercenaries. I love the 80s and the 90s. Keep up the good work. Seated Boxer, thank you again for another wonderful comment. Yeah, this was one that kind of flew mostly under our radars. Ethan has seen some pictures of it. Ethan, describe for the passengers what we're dealing with here.
Hang on, I got to find the pictures again.
I think I found something about them when I was doing some research, and just by that point I was just like, I never watched this. I don't think anybody that we that are on this show ever watched this, and I'm not gonna
Okay.
One
I'm not
second.
gonna talk about it.
There were 2 halftime heat episodes. One was 1999 with The Rock, and Jay was right. 2019.
2019.
They had
Okay, so it was WWE.
it was 2019. After Takeover Phoenix went off the air, Aleister Black, Ricochet, and Velveteen Dream would have a brawl with Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa in a 6-man tag match.
That's NXT as fuck.
Yeah.
That's black and gold.
That
as
was
fuck. Holy
NXT.
shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Continue on, Ethan.
Okay, Dinosaurs for Hire. Issue number 1. You have a T-Rex and a Triceratops that are like back to back.
Are they choking you? The Triceratops and the T-Rex, are they choking you?
I'm getting Men in
time?
Black vibes, but with dinosaurs.
Yes, they're both in brown and black trench coats.
Hell yeah.
The T-Rex has a 6-shooter, and the Triceratops has 2 9mm.
Mm-hmm.
And right below them, there's a Stegosaurus with an eye patch and is firing a bazooka.
So I'm gonna take a little liberty here, and this is gonna be the corner where we very rarely get feedback, and I'm gonna call it "But you were wrong." So the reason why we didn't mention things like that and Cadillacs and dinosaurs is because yes, they did have anthropomorphic animals in them, but they weren't necessarily ripping off the whole mutant team aspect of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So there you go.
So you heard it from Jody. You're
yeah.
wrong.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Damn.
Now, if
You-
you'd like
you-
to leave
got
further
butt-
feedback on that, travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com.
If you would like us to
Again, that is
just
Travelers on the
Crush your
Omnibus.
hopes
just
and dreams.
crush your
1L
comments.
on the omnibus at gmail.com for any things regarding what we've just talked to. Just Jody, and then we will forward the email as is necessary.
If
Yeah.
you would like Jody to actually you, please email us.
Yeah.
If you'd like for him to get some glasses so he can push the rim of them up to his nose, so they said, well, actually, we can arrange that for you. However, Jody, where else can they get in touch with us?
You can message us through Spotify.
Yes, exactly. Just
Directly.
like Seated Boxer did. Leave a comment on any of our previous or the current episode you are listening to right now. In addition, take part in any and all active polls that may be going on in any of our episodes. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for being passengers on the bus. If you'd like to share this experience with anyone that you know, but they do not listen to podcasts on the channels you listen to podcasts to, we're available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube Music, through our YouTube channel, Travelers on the Omnibus, and iHeartRadio. Gentlemen, it's time for part 4. And kind of also parts 1, 2, and 3 right there at the very beginning.
Book club.
But that was a bit.
An outsider can sometimes see things better than one who is part of them. Ganleon offered. That is perhaps one of my favorite lines and the best lie in all of Book 4, The Hand of Oberon, from the Chronicles of Amber, published in copyright 1976 by Roger Zelazny, published first in 1977. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again to the longest running series on the bus. It is our
Book
review.
club.
But specifically the book club about Roger Zelazny's Chronicles
Longest
of Amber.
running because we all bought the book. So we don't have to do anything else extra except read the book.
I got news for you. I didn't buy this at all. I was given it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I bought mine.
I am a freeloader. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Yes, we're
I
talking
mean, some of
about
us are just lucky.
we're talking about book 4, The Hand of Oberon. We are going to be reading from the Chronicles of Amber, which you can, or rather, the Great Book of Amber,
Right.
which I believe is available still at Amazon. So when you're hearing page numbers from that, that is the book that we're going to be referencing here.
Yeah, and it's like $25 still, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
So-
good deal.
Yeah, so we start out with everything we knew about Amber was a lie. There was actually
The
a
first-
true Amber.
The first time we hear basically everything we knew was a lie in this book.
Yeah.
There's going to be like 18 more times.
There's a running. Yeah,
There's
it's
a
one
lot
of
of
the,
lies.
it's one of the reasons why I led off with the biggest lie of all that you don't know is a lie yet. Which I will give credit to him. We go 100 pages before that
Right.
lie finally pays off, and
Right.
it pays off pretty well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really and truly, you don't need to read the first 3 books. Just pick up on this one.
You kind of need some context for
Well-
some of the things going
You
on.
kind of need to have contour because again, what was it? Chapter 2 of this novella is like, you would say, man, I had a chance to stop and think about all the crazy adventures I've had in
And
the
then
last,
I'm going to think about it.
and just like literally the Cliff's Notes version of the first 3 books.
Yes.
Mhm.
I will say this. These books were like, if even with us, like we've gone a year past it, I did appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
it
appreciated
was a nice
a
callback.
bullet. No, not even so much a call, but
Yeah.
a bullet pointed. This is the shit that's happened
So
because
far.
we've
Yeah.
dealt with some weirdo metaphysical shit that might be
Yeah.
distracting
And
you.
we're about to deal
Here's-
with some more metaphysical
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So, yeah, as much as you might appreciate that, that's still bad writing. Like it's not good for you to take 10% of your novella and just recap the previous. Like if anybody else had done that, even our favorite authors would be like, "What the fuck is this?"
I love that in the second paragraph of chapter 2 of book 4. I had not even been aware of my name when I awakened in Greenwood. That was the beginning of the first book.
Yeah, and then it keeps
That
going.
was
I
literally
like,
the beginning of the
I
first
kept
book.
reading. I was like, oh, because what I did was I was like, okay, I remember like the big parts, but I don't remember every little thing that happened in the last book. Let me read a Wikipedia summary of it. And then I was like, oh, well, I wasted my fucking time doing that because he was just going to tell me all of the books over again. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? You have 120 pages and you're spending 5 of them on this. What the actual fuck?
There had been 2 cabals plotting and counterplotting after the throne, treading on one another's heels, breathing down one another's necks, and he just starts naming all brothers.
Yeah, and the thing about this is this turns out to be not fully accurate because
Yes.
a lot of the information that he got, the person was fucking lying to him.
Yes.
So even that is like a
We'll-
waste to
We'll
me.
talk about that later.
Like
I mean, a lot
the
of we'll
beginning
talk
of
about
this
later.
was very, very frustrating for me because I was like,
So-
what the fuck is this?
A lot of times, red letter media, especially when they're talking about the works of like Looper and Episode 8, Brian Johnson.
Mm.
When they're
Yeah.
talking about Ryan Johnson, the term subverting expectations.
Mhm.
This is, to me, like, I believe, yes, I will co-sign that it is lazy writing, but it also it sets up what Corwin thinks is the truth, and when he realizes it's not the truth, it knocks it out of him. And for it to have that kind of effect again after 4 years, this is like the 4th or 5th year. Like the first book was like 5 years ago in first publication. The fact that he's setting this up, I'm just resetting the plate so that you understand this is what it is, because it's not. He's offering you the truth, but it's really a lie. And I appreciate that. It's one of the reasons why I forgive this one more than I would just for something that's like just a cliff notes. Like you could have done this in a forward, or this could have been an email, basically.
Yeah, you can appreciate it, and that's fine. Like to each his own, but like this is like it's really bad. I think, especially when you don't have very much that you're like you only have so much space. For whatever reason, you've decided like I'm going to write a smaller book, and then you spend all of it just like recapping things, and it's like
it's like a more detailed blurb of
it's like
it is a full on recap.
You could have taken this out and not have missed anything. Like we could have just like kept going. And I would argue that he doesn't even get the wind knocked out of him that badly. He just kind of go like a lot of what Corwin does is just go, oh, okay, well that's not, I was wrong. Well, that sucks. Now I gotta stop my brother from doing all this shit.
One of many brothers from doing shit.
There's always another brother.
But in particular, in this book, one brother.
We find out.
We finally
find out.
We finally maybe because I don't like because
we've got a book left.
They're constant because they are constantly like 3 times in these books. He's been like, well, I think this is how things are, and then he goes, well, no, this person was fucking lying to me, so that's not how things are. I don't trust that. I don't even trust like the ending of to be like, okay, well, this is how things are now. Shit. But I don't know.
We've jumped a little bit.
I didn't hate this book though.
Yeah.
Like
we jumped a little bit ahead to the second chapter. I want to focus on a few things in the first chapter.
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, that line, which is not the opening line, but it comes after we found out that the pattern in amber, the amber we thought was amber, is actually a reflection of the true primal pattern of the real amber. That there was a level of amber that even most of the children did not know about.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that like the font of reality actually comes from this place. We find out that pattern has been damaged. We find out that pattern was damaged when the blood of amber was spilled, which means that there's something intrinsically tied to the pattern and the royal family.
The family.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really strong, and with the revelations to come, I think it's a really strong opening chapter because again, it establishes those truths that are going to turn out to be lies. It gives us a sweet griffin and a sweet definition, like a defining of a griffin, which I thought was pretty awesome. It gives you he sets up, I think, in this one the stakes almost immediately. Like there's still a few things you have to kind of puzzle out, but eventually, like the push off of the roller coaster starts here, and for the most part, I think it travels well, except for chapter 2. As much as I will forgive,
I will agree with that.
As much as I will forgive chapter 2, I won't totally. It's like you have to stop and kind of get all and by that I mean the reader. He did not. You're right. He did not have to do this. The reader is stopped in having to get basically a back view of the last 3.
Well,
it's
to be honest. Also, though, it's not the entirety of chapter 2. Like it's about half of the chapter that it does that.
It's like 5.5 pages.
I'd say like a quarter of it, not like the full on half.
Of chapter 2. No, it's I counted it. It's like 5.5 pages.
Yeah.
It's 5 to 5.5 pages.
And a 13 chapter novella. It's half of a chapter.
Okay. Right.
I will say another thing in the first chapter. One of the things that I keep always coming back to as far as this goes, I was an only child, so no brothers, no sisters. I love the relationship between Corwin and Random, which like the two kind of outcast brothers,
right?
Yeah.
For all the like when they come
back
together.
that is good. Yeah.
Well, also it's mentioned that, and then later in the book it's mentioned as well that Corwin is completely different than he was before the first book. Like he's not the same.
Oh yeah, I feel like it's very obvious that we wouldn't like
because a lot of
if he was the same person.
old Corwin.
A lot of the siblings mention that throughout, like all of the books, especially this one.
And it comes up again.
And in particular, Julian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he does kind of have a thing later with Julian.
Spoilers: Julian shows back up in this, in honestly one of my favorite pivot points in all of the stories. I want to read this from page 374. They're approaching the Griffin. The Griffin has acknowledged Corwin, and now Corwin is telling Random to approach. I think we're friends, I said softly. Now you try it, Random. Are you kidding? No, I'm sure you're safe. Try it. What will you do if you're wrong? Apologize? Great. And then he does. I love that kind of like loving, like, now you do this. Later on in the chapter, when they are using the blood to test if the blood of Amber actually can damage the pattern, after doing so, it's like Random goes, "You do this for me. I've already spilled blood for the cause." Like I love that back and forth between them because the two of them will do a great deal for one another. But at the same time, it'll always be with this kind of like little tongue in cheek, like kind of teasing with it. And I just love that relationship because it's not born out of which you see so much in the rest of the family. You see it's born out of love, but out of a like look at the situation we're in. Holy shit.
Question for y'all. Am I the only one here with siblings?
I have siblings.
Oh, you have siblings? Okay,
I had an older brother, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I had a sister.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
My brother was like 10 years older than me. So
yeah, my sister was.
He was not
10 years older.
He was not in the house.
Yeah.
He had moved out.
I didn't get a lot of interaction with my sister, but I loved her dearly.
Yes.
But anyway,
same.
Okay.
Another thing that I liked about it, again, Ganelin, who is an outsider to Amber, he picks up on things, and initially, like that line, it's like yeah, the forest through the trees. Like if you're inside the situation, you can't really see it with eyes that are only bound to the inside of it. You need someone who looks from the outside and kind of give another kind of, which I thought was a great way to portray Ganelin.
Yes,
that's a great. Also, like earlier on in the story, when Corwin is self-reflecting, all of Ganelin's, really good. He's really good at guessing. I'm almost like angry at how well he's figuring out things that he shouldn't know.
Yeah.
Payoff will be later for that.
Yeah. And we also
there's a few other things, and we'll talk about it that suggest that Ganelin may be good at guessing, but there's something else to him.
Yeah. They also find out that there's something in the center of the pattern, and it is kind of funny how Random and Corwin are arguing like, how the fuck do we get over there? Do we have to cross the pattern?
Yeah.
How will that even work when there's parts of the pattern that are broken because of this blackness through it? And then Ganelin just like shoots through the black shit. It's like
Ganelin walks the pattern.
Right.
Actually, he doesn't walk the pattern. He walks through the black strip. He goes through the black part.
He just walks through the black road area.
Yeah, he walks through the black area. He runs through the black area.
Which I always thought was like the full physical symbol of the black. Like the black mark on the pattern is actually like the black road that is across all of creation.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's Random or whatever that mentions well, that was fast.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I didn't take any time to do it. It's like,
but again, it's somebody outside, like everybody that we've known that has dealt with the pattern is either like one of those direct brothers or sisters, or Martin, which Martin comes into play here as well.
Yeah.
Right.
But now we have someone who is supposedly
not related
of Shadow.
Yeah.
He's an outsider.
And he's not supposed to be able to, like, even if it's not just walking to the pattern just to get up to that point, if it's just going to the black part.
Any of this weird esoteric shit he shouldn't be able to do.
He shouldn't be able to do it, but he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he brings back a a
An
knife,
object, yeah,
a
an
knife
object, yeah,
that has pierced a trump that they have never seen before.
yeah.
An image that they do not recognize.
They
Yeah.
do not recognize the
first.
image at first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At first.
And then random kind of realizes,
Random looks at
oh,
it.
that's Martin. Look,
Yeah.
look at my features
Which,
on
for
that.
those of you who don't remember back, like of all the recapping we
right.
do,
Yeah,
Martin is the son of Random from his, I believe, first wife.
Yeah.
From Rebma.
yeah.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were a wife. I think they just had a kid with a chick in Rebna.
And then he was forced to
And then
marry.
he-
Luella.
He
was forced to marry
and
the
then
other
he,
girl.
he ran
That's right.
away. He ran off basically,
Right.
and that's why he was forced to marry this girl when he came back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why he wasn't welcome in Rebma in the first book.
Yeah.
right.
Um,
And he didn't really know Martin that much, but when he finds out about what's going on with him,
yeah, never had anything to do with Martin.
now
Yeah.
he's like, and I think Corwin even mentioned that if that would have happened to him, he would have probably acted the same way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And Corwin also puts two and two together. It's like, okay, this is a Trump that I've never seen before.
mhm.
I know this style of painting, and it's Brand's style of painting.
Yeah.
So that means there's a good chance that Brand had something to do with possibly killing Martin because
He doesn't know that yet.
he doesn't.
Mm-mm.
No, not
Not
yet.
yet.
It has to be around this time because
Is it?
that's when he's because he's putting two and two together when he's like talking to Random right here, or at
Yeah.
least not very long after they go back to.
Well, and eventually they realize, like it all. I like the notion of accountability that Corwin has. Like a lot of this, I won't say is police procedural, but there is detective work going on. There's like going out, gathering evidence, questioning people, asking for stuff. So there's a bit of a there's a bit of a like a detective novel to it, as far as like
Right.
gathering the
Trying to
information.
unravel the mystery of what's going on.
And the thing that I love that he comes to, it's like, okay, Martin is of the blood of Amber because one of the royals is like his sire, and the fact that somebody from that side actually like pulled him in, and by stabbing it damaged the very thing that is holding reality together. The reason why Corwin takes responsibility for it, because this happens sometime around the time where he laid his curse as the ordained king when he had the crown on his head for a few moments, and like cursed everybody like with his what would have been his death curse that bring all of this about. It's not that his curse was direct. This happened like he makes this realization a few chapters in, but this is where he starts kind of putting everything together, and he kind of puts out really and truly it's his entire generation that are at fault for what's going on now. And again, for him to be the force to be cleaning this up, like it shows, one, that he was an outsider to the family, but two, that being outside allowed him to do the work that made the changes possible. And that going back to Ganelon's quote about an outsider can sometimes see things better than the people who are inside of it. That's the reason why Corwin is driving this more so. It's because he'd been in the outside of it for so long.
I have clarification on what I said.
okay.
When he looks at the Trump, he believes he recognizes it to be Brand's work, but he's not 100% sure that he knows that Brand is the one that made it. So that's why he needs to seek out Brand in order to ask him these questions. But he's also trying to avoid telling Random.
Yeah, that's why he gets the Trump from Random.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I apologize in my
No, it's okay.
no,
There's
statement.
for this being a very short book, there is a lot of like there's so
There's a lot.
this kind of has the Game of Thrones problem where there are a lot of kind of characters who don't particularly stick out. The brothers and the sisters, everyone for me, they have to really give something or at least have like a weird name. All of the B names really throw me off, and it's hard to figure. It's hard for me to
Brand.
like. I have to keep
Blaze.
reading. I have to keep reading as to okay, this is what this one is, and this is the one who did this. Okay,
Also, all the G names.
There's a lot of G names.
keep track of it, and it's and there's a lot of like just generic kind of dudes, and
Flora
it really
and Fiona.
yeah. I get those.
I still don't know the difference.
I have to look up every single time that they're mentioned. I have to like go back and look up. Okay, which was the one that Random first, I mean that Corwin first met on
That's
Earth.
Flora.
Yeah, I have to every single time I go back to read these, I have to remind myself which one was which.
So they basically like Benedict and Random go off.
Yeah.
And
They speak to Benedict because he had actually
Corin tells Random that
And Ganelin, once again, puts him on this track.
Yeah.
right,
Because
Mhm.
Ganelin's would say, Martin spent time with Benedict.
right,
And so, it's also, I think that it's this very natural kind of weave. They're trying to weave what's the remnants of the family back together again.
Mhm.
It's interesting that for a book called The Hand of Oberon, one of the things that happens here is that the family is pulling back together again, and they're pulling, and the anchor point for that is Corwin and Corwin's investigations into what's going
Well,
on.
also like it's alluded to later or whatever, but go ahead and say that it really comes out that like Corwin, especially after Eric dies, is no longer interested in the throne. He's more interested in finding out what's really going on.
Well,
behind the
preserving
scenes.
Amber
Preserving Amber is his main
yeah.
thing. But so Benedict and Random have to go off in search of something. I can't remember currently.
They go off looking for
clues of Martin.
Clues of Martin.
Clues of Martin, and Corwin is asked by Random to, on your journey, let my wife know that all this is happening and all that.
Mhm.
And so
And Corin says, "I will do this, but I need Martin's trump."
I need the trump, and and it's hilarious because again, Zelazny tries to hide his exposition, then it becomes extremely obvious that that's what it is, because he immediately as soon as he meets Random's wife, they maybe just like expedition dump like on each other. What's going on, and what Random, every time that like he mentions something, she goes, yeah, Random told me that.
Yeah.
He felt bad about that.
What I love in that interchange, because now he's back at the castle because
Yeah.
he wants to meet with her and he wants to meet with Brand.
Yeah.
But one thing he mentions about, I want to avoid meeting Brand just yet. Corwin had, and I don't know if this is a fault in the writing or it's clever writing. Corwin's instincts are usually spot on. It's when he tries to logic everything out, that's when he gets tripped up.
Yeah.
Because the people who know to plant the wrong information know how to fix that.
Right.
Meanwhile, when he's just going off of his instincts and what he kind of instinctually knows about his family, about Amber, about Shadow, when he follows that, he's usually the best. I go back to the Hell Ride in the second book, I think, when Benedict is chasing him, and it's more along the lines of like, it's not so much that he's planning it, it's that, okay, this, like, I think this is going to work in this moment. These are my last tricks, and those are typically the ones that throw Benedict off, because he even admits on one-on-one footing, I can't beat Benedict even with one arm.
Right.
But
nobody can.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. Nobody can beat Benedict in a one-to-one fight.
But when he takes that instinctual side to him, when he kind of trusts that gut feeling of his, he usually comes out on top. And I've always thought that that's something that's at the very least underlying everything that Corwin does. It's like when he goes with his heart, when he goes with his emotions.
Yeah, he makes on the fly decisions,
and they just work out for him.
Right.
It's when he has to do long form thinking. I think it's one of the reasons why Brand can get to him, why Fiona got to him in the third book.
Right.
Like, it's one of those things. And I think it really stands out in Hand of Oberon.
They know enough to be able to play on his faults and his little weaknesses that he has. They know how to twist and try and manipulate him in and he caught on to that like in the first book when Flora was not telling him everything. Like that's what most of them do. He says that himself. I always hold back. I held back from this because I didn't want to like reveal my whole hand about what's going on, because I need to find out whether or not this person knows
They are
more.
a family of guarded secrets.
Yeah.
Every single person is always holding something back. They're never giving all the information. Corwin does this in like 5 times in every book. Yeah, it's
It's more prevalent in the first book because
Mhm.
he has no logic or reason.
Yeah.
He has no memory to go back
Yeah.
on. And so he has to go by feeling, and it pays off for him.
Mhm,
Almost
mhm.
like if it doesn't pay off once, I'd be surprised to find it. Maybe with his interactions with Dara, maybe.
Yeah.
But even then, I think it's the knowledge of what knowledge they have, what Dara has of him, is being used to play against him.
Yeah.
That's just a thought I have.
I wanted to point out a pretty good turn of phrase. There's a lot of, like, in my opinion, kind of plain language, which is fine with me. I don't mind plain language, but every once in a while he Zelazny pulls out like a really good turn of phrase, I think. And this is on page 393, right before chapter 4. They've continued, like, him and Ganelon and I believe Random have also kind of, like, continued talking about how things are and what they do and what they don't know. And the very last sentence in the chapter, in chapter 3, is sitting there in my mind, I gestured back at the silent parade of moments that crossed between Amber and then. I thought that was a pretty good turn.
That is a good turn of phrase.
Little turn of
There's
phrase.
a couple of those.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of, like, really plain language in here, but every once in a while he pulls out like a really nice little way of putting things. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's like right before he meets Random's wife.
Yeah.
Viali.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What I love about it is an exposition dunk.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she's one of the few people that's like, you're hungry. No, I don't really know. It's like I'm gonna get you some food. Okay, just some bread. Brings out like a full, like, 3-course lunch.
Mhm.
He devours the whole thing. There are people that could, like, he's putting on airs. I wonder how often he actually is successful in convincing people.
Right, because there's a point where she goes, right before that, like, she goes, Random told me many things about you. Are you certain you wouldn't care to have something to eat? It would be no trouble. Did he tell you that I'm always hungry? She laughed.
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah. This section is kind of an exposition dump. But I do like their rapport.
Their conversation and rapport is very good.
Yeah. It almost distracts you from the fact that he's just kind of just telling you a whole bunch of things.
He's telling her a bunch of stuff, and then every so often she goes, yeah, Random told me about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll ask her, like, oh, really? And then she'll go into details about,
like, it was really nice when she was like, told him about the joke that Random pulled on him, and he's like, oh shit, that was Random. Okay, I've been wondering that for forever.
that he feels bad about that
yeah.
one though.
A line from, so he finishes up with Viali. We get more information as to, again, it's a narrowing down of what we know now is the truth, and, like, we're getting rid of possibilities that we don't have to consider anymore, and we're getting down to that thing that will actually tell us what's going on. Page 400, I believe this is just after he had napped because he needed to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
He left his room. I locked my room behind me and headed for the stairs. Candles flickered, and the faded stag, who had been dying for centuries on the tapestry to my right, looked back on the faded dogs who had been pursuing him for approximately as long. Sometimes my sympathies are with the stag. Usually, though, I am all dog.
Mm-hmm.
Have to have the thing restored one of these days.
I
like that. Where I like that notion of, it's the notion of, this has been a part of Amber for centuries, and he wants to. It's not just that he wants to restore the tapestry; he wants to restore all of Amber, and so that's his kind of pointed thing there. And the notions of, not usually I'm all dog, but I think right now, I think his sympathies are with the stag. It's not so much that he feels hunted, but he feels that things are out of his control and bearing down on him.
Yeah. Another nice little turn of phrase is at the top of 400 that I really like. For a long while, I tossed and twisted, reliving events of the past several days and some of the events even further back. When I finally slept, my dreams were an amalgam of the same material, including a spell in my old cell scraping away at the door.
Which leads to where, instead of going to Brand like he was going to, which again, he continues to put off. I think instinctually he knows, because Brand is not on his side.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't logic that out, and that's one of the reasons why we have to kind of keep narrowing things. But he waits until he's ready to deal with Brand before he goes to see him. But yeah, he goes back to his old cell, which that was cool. That was not so much as a callback, just like him kind of reliving now with actual eyes that work, like what was going on with him then. And he steps through the door to the lighthouse, and there he meets Dworkin.
Yeah.
A wild Dworkin appears.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and thinking him to for some reason thinking that he's Oberon. He goes,
Yeah.
Oberon? He said.
Is that
is
you?
is it finally time? What time is that? I asked softly. He chuckled. What other? Time to destroy the world, of course. Great. What's Dworkin up to?
Yeah.
So
I don't remember him having this disposition.
yes. In the first book, Dworkin is mad. Maybe it was the years, maybe it was the magic, maybe it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
But Dworkin is mad. Had suffered from madness at that point. He was able to use Dworkin to get out of the cell because he was able to draw the lighthouse at Cabra and was able to escape to it.
Yeah.
And now it seems that he's done the same thing, and now he's overtaking the light, or he's the caretaker for the lighthouse here. And this chapter is interesting, and I would like someone to take this one over if they would like, please. This is chapter 5.
Yeah, chapter 5.
Yeah, this is where Dworkin is convinced that he is actually Oberon, and he has taken the face,
the form of Corwin.
The form of Corwin.
And in fact, he decides, hey, I can do that.
So we get
They're also speaking in like dim fireplace,
very dim lighting.
Yeah.
And so he can't really.
No, very, very true. He can't see him, so he can play that off. But it suggests two things. One, Oberon has the ability to look like anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Dworkin, if you take Dworkin at his word, again,
Right.
Dworkin immediately insists upon himself that I am mad. And it comes and goes, but I am crazy. So is it some craziness of him that's thinking this? But the second thing is, how long has Oberon been active? Because if he's just, you're coming to me like in this form right now, it's like,
Right.
okay,
It's
what's going
suggesting
on?
a lot of things.
Which makes us suggest that Oberon has the ability to appear as not himself.
Or maybe Dworkin is just mad.
Well,
Exactly.
here's what Dworkin actually says when he sees, because he thinks that he's Oberon first when it's in the darkness, but when he moves in, he's like, oh, you're Oberon, but you've taken the face of Corwin.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't immediately think like
Right.
he's Corwin when
Right.
he sees him. He still thinks, oh,
he
you've
still
taken
thinks,
the face.
oh, it's Oberon.
And he asks him like, why did you not choose Brand or Blaze? It was Clarissa's lot served us best. Kind of hinting that, okay, if you want to like do some subterfuge stuff, you want to use them, their faces, and not Corwin's face.
Yeah, because they're good liars.
Yeah.
And then Corwin asks him, like, what face would you put on things?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and he said, "Why to win your good face, win your goodwill, I'll match you." And then he turns into Corwin as well.
Yeah, the hump on his back like goes away, and he his shoulders get more broadened.
He gets taller.
Becomes more like tapered.
And now he's standing in front of a mirror image of himself.
Yeah.
And so Dworkin has this power, and through Dworkin we learn Oberon has this power. So once again, how has Oberon been active? How long has Oberon been active? There's a very interesting question that is not being asked directly.
Right.
That is buried inside the details here that I think he did a very good job.
I like Dworkin's asking him some very leading questions, and then Corwin's basically like asking a question after he's being asked a question.
Yeah.
Dworkin, whatever became of the grand design, right? Which is at the bottom of, almost near the bottom of 404, the last paragraph.
And then he's like, you tell me.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't know whether he was speaking of the pattern or some other master plan of Dad's to which he had been privy. You tell me, I said.
Yeah, and he says, "Why not? You changed your mind." So we're kind of getting the hint that
Right.
they also had the idea to destroy the original pattern,
Right.
The primal pattern.
but Oberon changed his mind for some reason. He also tells Corwin that he has moments of lucidity, like it goes in and out to where he's like, sometimes he's completely mad.
Right.
But he said that like this is just how it has to be. And he gets him to kind of go over a few things. I tell him that they fucked a unicorn. Like he just casually drops that. Yeah, I had you because I fucked a unicorn. So that's interesting.
Yeah. That gives the last book a whole different meaning, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
The title of the last book.
Yeah. I mean,
The sign.
it probably means
The
that there's a good chance that the unicorn that showed them the pattern is like their mom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, he keeps just like he gives them like little random little bits because he keeps trying to get him to tell him something about what happened, and he just like throws out all this random shit that makes no sense to us and to Corwin. You know, the how he made the pattern himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that he is also the pattern, and the pattern is he.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When one is damaged, so is the
Corwin
other.
alludes to repairing the pattern, and Dworkin is like,
You've said,
"Have you lost your taste to be Lord of the Living Void and King of Chaos?
Mm-hmm.
By
Yeah.
the unicorns, thy mother."
Yeah.
I knew it would come to this.
And that Dworkin is also a family relation now, which is something that's weird to kind of consider. At least Corwin considers it weird.
Yeah.
Eventually, the ruse is dropped, and Dworkin realizes that
It's Corwin.
Yeah.
and he doesn't begrudge him for
No.
that. But the madness starts coming. It said, "There's Trump. There's a special set of trumps in my room. Go use one of those cards right now."
Well, they go down to the pattern again.
Oh, okay.
and then on the way to the pattern,
But
what do they
Dworkin kind of reveals that, and I'm remembering because I'm just kind of flicking through this.
Yeah.
His idea was that shit's fucked up, and the only way to do it is to erase the pattern completely and start a new one. And he tells him like, hey, he takes him to the pattern, and he tells him like, there is a possibility that it's not going to be easy, but it might be possible to repair this pattern by walking it again with the jewel. He's like, hey, you got the jewel right, and he's like, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
I left it over in the shadow version of
hid
Earth.
it.
in a poop box.
don't have it exactly on me,
But I know where it is.
I
But
know where I left it.
I know exactly where it is.
Yeah,
I am
and
100% certain that nothing has touched it since it has been there. And he's like, yeah, well, you
should
better
get
go.
that as soon as
You
possible.
better
Oh
go
shit!
get-
You're going crazy. Quick, I'll look at this card. You're in the courts of chaos. That
Yeah.
is such a hard turn.
Yeah, and also Dworkin like turns into a werewolf or something and
Yeah.
starts
Just
to
yells,
attack him.
Fool.
Yeah.
So,
And then the courts of chaos, which I will say this for H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft had a word for this, and that was eldritch. And if he
Yeah.
had just used that once, he could have pretty much described the courts of chaos. But instead, we have to watch a Jackson Pollock oil painting kind of flow into itself and finally crash
Yeah.
into the Scream or Starry Night
Yeah.
by Van Gogh.
Our already esoteric terminology becomes even more convoluted.
Yeah, this is like the trippiest part of all the books so far.
Paired with the Hell Ride coming later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that
gets
that's
weird
just
too.
esoteric.
Yeah.
Dribble, to be honest. But
Two people approach him and say, I will hail you down and shout where you will cry it from. No, I got that wrong. Your name, the writer demanded. Give me your name, who comes to this place. His voice produced a crackling sensation in my ears. It was all of one sound level, loud, and without inflection. I shook my head. I give my name when I choose, not when I am ordered to, I said. Who are you? He gave 3 short barks, which I took to be a laugh. I will hail you down and about, where you will cry it out forever. I pointed Grace Wander at his eyes. Talk is cheap.
whiskey costs money. Like I love that. I love that. It's something that comes natural to him. It's like, no, I'm not, and fuck you for trying.
Yeah, and using his sword, he's able to basically like take the guy down.
Mm-hmm.
Before he like the guy recognizes Corwin, so that tells us something. I don't know what.
And then the second person after Corwin dispatches the first guy, that sword is Grayswander.
Yeah.
Now it's either he knows Grayswander is Corwin's sword, or he knows the sword specifically. Like
Right.
Yeah.
the sword may have some special thing to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yeah, it is. And so he fires his crossbow bolt off into the distance. Say, okay, I'll remember you. You remember me. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
And then they part, and then finally, like, oh wait, I have a cell phone that can call anybody in my family.
Yeah.
Gerard, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So he just nopes out of the courts of chaos.
Before we continue, when Corwin was speaking with Dworkin did confirm that the trump of Martin was made by Bran. That was
Yeah.
the whole point.
Oh,
for
yeah.
him
That
to
was
go-
that was the
to
whole
go
point to
find
go
Dworkin.
find
Yes.
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
information.
that was his original thing, was trying to see like who
Who
made
made the
origin
Trump.
of
I
made the
respect
Trump.
Zelazny's. He picks his times to make a reveal that kind of shocks the conscience. It kind of is like,
Mhm.
oh, this is weird. Again, we go with Corwin had this idea. It kind of looks like Brand's artwork. I could go to Brand and ask him, but I might be dealing with
Yeah,
a
something
bad
that-
shit,
Yeah.
moon,
Yeah.
or the most evil man.
And he
all of
also
And
them.
then
said
you
he
deal
did-
with confrontation.
He did
Yeah.
until he knew for sure he suspected, but if Random made that connection, then there was a good chance that Random was gonna. Well, I'm just gonna fucking kill
I'm gonna
Brand,
kill Brand,
and I
right.
don't know everything
Yeah.
that Brand knows,
Right.
so I need to get some more information from him. So I have to withhold
and
that.
Going to the
from
Dworkin
Random.
route was very smart, and it confirmed something that didn't have to have a secret agenda behind it. We're narrowing down on our targets of who are the evil people and who are trying to do terrible things to all of reality.
He also finds out that time is different in the Courts of Chaos. The time that he was gone is like 8 days.
Yeah, more than the full
Amber
week.
time.
Yeah,
But yeah, Gerard pulls him through. He tried to reach out to Random, but Random had already been on his
Random
hell
He's on
ride.
his hell ride.
was not available.
And
Yeah,
then
he
he
goes-
decides to finally go to speak to Brand.
How long have I been away when he was talking to Gerard? And he's like 8 days.
thing.
8 days.
8 days for you was only like a day for me. My stab wound is still fresh and hurting. And meanwhile, like he comes into Brand's room, it's like Brand's put on weight. He's chipper as all can be. It's like, oh, this is
His
I'm-
favorite rug is
Yeah.
outside his door.
Yeah.
Rugs are very important.
We have a
Chekhov's rug.
Yeah.
Please bear that into. And you don't have to wait to Act 3. It pays off right at the top of Act 2.
I tapped on Brand's door. Come in, Corwin, he said. That's the last time we'll probably hear him be chipper.
Yeah.
Uh
I like that he was like, "Where the hell have you been?" And he's like, "Hither and yon."
Hither and
None of
yon.
these fucking family members ever give a straight answer ever. Even when Gerard was like, "Where the fuck are you?" He's like, "In hell, bring me through."
Hey, hither and yon. What did you want us to see me about? I asked you where you been.
And I heard you. Now I am going to go out and come back in, supposing we start our conversation all over again.
He sighed.
He's fucking rhyming while speaking with him.
This is literally the most passive aggressive family.
Oh
in
my
the
God,
history
it
of-
is-
of,
it
of
is-
all fantasy.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Why are we all so thin-skinned? I do not know.
I like your characterization of Brand's voice. It's that like lost in chaos kind of like fluttering around. Like it's a very good. It's a take on Loki, like the trickster of
Right.
of the person pushing towards chaos. I
Yeah.
think that was a very
It
that was
might-
very good. I like
it
that,
might be
Jody.
better if I do start over again. He sheathed his dagger.
Yeah. Then fucking Corwin gives another recap of the stuff that we just, 'cause
Yeah.
he has to tell somebody the stuff that he just
He's like
experienced.
John Madden describing every play on a football field.
Yeah. Except he actually understands football.
But then,
Ooh-ah.
but then Corwin actually like gives him a good
Boom.
explanation,
Yeah.
saying like, actually time was running faster for me than it was for you.
Mhm.
So from where I'm sitting, I've hardly been away.
Mhm.
You're probably further recuperated from your puncture than I am from mine, because Bran, that was like, was it the last book that
Bran got stabbed.
Bran, we find out in this book later who stabbed him, but didn't we find out last book?
Yeah, we found out last
book, yeah.
Yeah,
So
because she hightailed it out of here.
right. We find out the
There-
reasoning.
Yeah, we found out the reason why, but there was always still the question because at the same time, Julian also disappeared.
Right.
Yes.
So it casts doubt on both of them. But I think this is where it crystallizes because the question is asked and it's answered by the person who did it, which we'll get to in a second. Another line that I love at the bottom of 421. Again, they're jostling over all the the passive aggressiveness of getting to the point and things like that. Lovely story, I began. But now you want me to stop stalling. I was not stalling. However, I was attempting to make a point. We are all of us alive by one another's sufferance and an occasional fortunate accident.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't describe Corwin's life until he gets his fucking memory back, I don't really know what does. And it's just a fascinating kind of turn on that. And again, it's these like small little statements.
I also like this little back and forth when like he finally tells him like why he's here to see him.
Yeah.
So Corwin's turned and is looking at a
Oil painting.
at an oil painting.
Yeah.
And this is good. This is when he does good writing like this. I really enjoy it because it's telling you without telling you. And sometimes he tells, not shows, but this is the time where he is like showing and not telling. And he just says, "You have a distinctive style." So okay, we know Brand painted this painting. And Brand says, "In all things," and he says, "You stole my next sentence." And then he pulls out the Martin's trump. "I cannot deny my hand. It executed more than the card, your hand, didn't it?" He traced the upper lip with the tip of his tongue. "Where'd you find it?" "Right where you left it, at the heart of all things, in the real amber." So I really like that whole little thing right there. Again, when he does this well, he does it really well. It's just he doesn't always do it well. And that I think is probably why I am frustrated.
Right.
He just straight up asked, like, "Hey, did you stab Martin?
Oh, I love it. Also, like he's like, when Brad's like, "You neglected to tell me who was with you when you discovered Martin's trump in the place where I had left it." "Why, it was random," I said.
Yeah.
Oh.
He basically tells him like, "Yeah, we drew straws to see who was going to be the one to stab Martin. And you won. Lost? What does any of this matter now? Things did not come about as we had intended. I am a different person now than I was then." He tells him that he didn't know if he killed him.
I love like, "I went out and closed the door. My silent regards to the rug."
Yeah. Well, that's a funny aside because he
I was gonna stab you all those years ago.
Yeah.
But you were standing on that rug, and I like that rug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did like that rug.
He tells him like, "Yeah, I really wanted to kill you not some time ago, but you were standing on my favorite rug." And then he tells him again later, like because he pisses him off towards the end of it.
That is his favorrait rug.
And he said,
It
like,
is.
"Mind you, I'm standing on the rug, so you can't kill me." He tells him, Bran tells Corwin that there's going to be another attack pretty soon, that Fiona is going to mount an attack from one direction, and then Blaze is going to come from the Courts of Chaos. Because he asked him, like, because when he went to the Courts of Chaos, like he didn't see any signs of them building up an army when they had plenty of time to attack again,
Right.
to ready themselves and attack again, especially knowing that the time differential. And he asked them that, like, "Hey, why the fuck aren't they doing this?" And he was like, "Well, they're going to do this." So he's like, "Well, shit. Can't can't remember exactly what he says to piss Brand off before he leaves.
Yeah.
Brand tries to get more information out of him, and he tells him, like, I'm not going to tell you everything.
I think it's a combination of the fact that he's denying him information
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
along with the notion that Random knows that he did it.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so he's vexed, and now he has to plan for a brother that up until this point you would not have to worry about Random. You had to worry
Mhm.
about every other sibling, but that was the one sibling that you knew wasn't coming after you. And now he's specifically coming after you. Yeah, I could see why.
He
was
also, for
mad.
some reason, asked about Benedict's new arm.
Yeah.
They talk about how they gave Benedict the
robot.
robot arm.
If we
from
want to be
Tyranno.
topical and New Day, the Winter Soldier arm.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier arm.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then-
sorry, one
No.
more, but I'd like to get into chapter 8 because it starts with another
It
curious
does.
thing.
It does.
yeah.
Do we just want to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter
Yeah, let's
8,
move through this.
Chapter 8, after a bit of lunch discussion and the fact that he might be descended from a unicorn, Corwin gets called by Ganelin over the trumps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
I'm here. It's like, wait, how do you know how to use trumps? Oh, well, I just did
Just
what you guys do. I
Picked
just,
up a pack.
picked up a pack in the library and just started using them. Up to this point.
What?
And I think you can write it off as Corwin's got a lot of fucking things on his mind.
Right.
Yeah.
The last thing he's thinking
How
of.
is this person from Shadow
Yeah.
now able to like figure out the primal pattern, interact with the primal pattern, and now use trumps?
Mm-hmm.
He does like this is something for the reader. The reader, if you've been with this series since book 1,
Right.
or at least read chapter 2,
Yeah.
you know that this shit doesn't work this way.
Yeah.
No.
What's going on?
Yeah, because it's
But
established.
he's also done a good job of like setting up other times where Corbin will be like, "This is how things are," and then immediately he's wrong.
Right.
Right.
Like he will tell the reader several times, "This is how things are. They can't be any other way," and then they're wrong. It happens like
And then-
20 times
And
in
then
this
Corwin
book.
will apologize to himself.
Right.
That he had gotten it wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
It-
shit.
Yeah, he just like in that first book, he just hammers it in that only the princes and princesses of Amber can walk the pattern and use trumps and
Yeah.
all of that.
You have to
but,
be of the blood of Amber.
but not this guy though.
Yeah, the first chapter, he's just walking. He ran it and then got the trump.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So they have some banter back and forth. Him and
Which leads to banter back and forth between Corwin and Benedict.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you see there's a rift there that is healing now that
Mhm.
kind of understanding more of everything there.
Mm-hmm. And Benedict basically tells him, like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check out the Courts of Chaos, see what the fuck's going on there. And maybe fuck some shit up if I can."
Yeah, and Corwin's like, "Are you sure, bro?" And it's like, and they both, but again, they leave on an accord where they both agree neither of them is going to make any moves until they can come back together and make a unified movement.
yeah, another thing that we'll whenever we get to the very end of this, it's like there's a lot of foreshadowing that you don't know that's foreshadowing.
Mhm.
For example, Ganalong produces 3 glasses and a bottle of wine for him, Corwin, and Benedict, just to have a nice conversation about things
Mm-hmm.
while they make their plans.
Yeah, they also talk a little bit more about Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how he and Benedict left Random to the, which again, Benedict being the chivalrous one, like makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. The character I think you said right, when the characters are realized,
Mm-hmm.
they follow that realization.
Yeah.
If there's ever going to be a change in character, it's going to be because of a great change in the
They
story.
also, I think we didn't mention, but I think it was either now or earlier. They realized that they talked to Benedict and they realized that he spent a lot of time with Martin.
Yeah.
Martin came to see him in Shadow.
Mhm.
And spent a lot of time with him, and Benedict's actually the ones who taught Martin how to use the trumps, and to walk in shadow. So like he kind of was a father figure to Martin. And he came back and forth, and they talked about how he the last time that he saw them was about the time when he would have been stabbed.
And when you think, okay, so we've got a plan in motion and we're going to be able to follow it to its course, and all that, Gerard comes through.
Yeah,
And
Gerard's like, "Hey, fuck you,
and
hey,
he's
fucker."
and he's back in destroyer mode.
Yeah.
And he's like, you stab Brand, like Brand's not in his room. There's blood everywhere. What the fuck's going on? And now another favorite exchange. Wait, his rug. Was there any blood on that small fancy rug before his door? I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. Why? Circumstantial evidence that he did it himself. He was very fond of that rug. He avoided messing it.
Yeah.
Something, again, it's just a weird Chekhov's gun. And then Ganelin beats the shit out of Gerard.
Yeah, Gerard, who we saw in the last book, could beat the shit out of Corwin very easily.
Did.
Yeah.
He beat the shit out.
Yeah.
And Ganelin, this man from Shadow, who has remarked in the past that Corwin, you fight like with the strength of like 30 men and can do all this other shit. Beat the shit out of the guy that beat the shit out of Corwin.
Yeah.
What's going on?
This could be another attempt to frame me, I said, and Benedict and I have come to better terms. That's right before Gerard the beating commences.
Yeah, the beating. It starts at the end of
And
chapter
to be
8.
Gerard was
chapter
beating the shit out of
Yeah.
Corwin before
Right.
Ganelin steps in.
And Ganelin just comes in and knocks him the fuck out.
And just knocks him
Just
the fuck
straight
out.
up LL Cool
And they're
J's
like,
the
"Oh,
motherfucker."
that was very helpful.
That was very kind of you, Ganelin.
Appreciate that, bruh." Yeah, he knocks him out.
And then now Corwin is on his way to find the jewel.
Yeah, he's going to go back to the Shadow Earth to find the jewel in
Once
the
again, to
compost
establish
heap.
Jewel of Judgment is necessary to repair the pattern. At least we think it is.
Yeah,
That's what we've been told.
It is the important MacGuffin.
Well, this is directly after the fight goes down and he knocks him out, Ganelin goes, "Don't stay around. I don't know how I would do in a rematch. Go find the trinket," talking about the Judgment Stone or whatever.
Yeah, and
it
you
is.
bring that comes up. The trinket comes up later.
Yeah. It's
trinkets.
chapter 9. It's mentioned again in chapter 9.
He can't actually start working Shadow this close to Amber, so he has to ride out, and then he gets into the forest, and
Specifically, the Forest of Arden, which was Julian's forest.
which is Julian's kind of turf.
The hunter.
And he
hears some dogs.
He hears some dogs, and he
first
hears
there's the hawk.
There's the hawk.
The
Yeah.
hawk, yeah. And then the demon dogs.
The Manticore.
Yeah, and then he's
and
automatically
then there's
like,
a whole manticore.
well, before this, he's like, "Oh fuck, Julian's chasing me again." Shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, he's chasing a manticore.
Yeah.
Who's actually chasing me? Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Corwin, kind of using Shadow, makes his own hawk to kill the hawk that's chasing that he thinks is chasing him. And it turns out they're really just all the dogs and everything are chasing the manticore.
And they fucked that Manticore
They
up.
fucked the manticore up
Yep.
pretty bad. But
They move around and they cause it to sting itself with its own tail.
yeah. And then he has
Julian
a
shows up.
little talk with Julian.
And
It's funny. I wish you hadn't killed Bella. Bella? And he motions to the hawk that he killed. He's like, "Oh shit." He was like, "I'm sorry, I misunderstood what was happening."
He was one of my favorites.
Forgive me for thinking that you were chasing me to ride me down and
I love
kill me.
the best line, just because it's so funny and nonchalant, and that's normally not what Corwin is like. And he goes, "I am sorry, I misunderstood what was going on." That's the reader.
And the best, the next best line is, "All right, I've done something for you. Now you can tell me what happened after I left the palace. Did Brand make it?" And he tells him basically like, "Yeah, I didn't stab him, but I really wanted to stab him.
I really wanted to.
If Fiona wouldn't have stabbed him, I definitely would have stabbed him."
I love how the siblings now are just admitting to the collusion of what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't give a
they're
fuck.
really all of the atricides.
Yeah.
Fratricide, patricide, matricide.
Yeah, he he tells him, like, yeah, I got the hell out of there because, you know, I didn't do it. I was going to do it, but I didn't do it. And I didn't want to be, you know, tarred and feathered for it.
He also just casually mentions the vast abilities that Brand also has.
Yeah. He says, I was afraid of Brand. He can do things that we cannot do. And I have seen him do these things.
I'm afraid of that bastard.
He can teleport. He can read minds. He's basically Nightcrawler and Professor X mixed into one.
And then also there's some really well-placed exposition here where he explains and admits that him, Blaze, and Fiona had formed a plan to claim the throne as well.
Mm-hmm.
And would see Blaze crowned, but they would all share power as well.
Yeah, he admitted to the things that they knew about trying to win Kane to the cause, which Brand had mentioned last book.
Julian turned away and looked back at the dead Manticore. "You are a fool," he finally said. "You were a tool from the very beginning. They used you to force our hand, and either way, you lost."
Yeah, they basically talk about how they kind of used him to and he kind of he tells him basically that us imprisoning you probably saved your life.
Yeah.
Because you weren't a threat then.
Whose idea was the blinding? Mine.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, I did that. That was my idea." Because this is what we needed to do. We needed to have you useless but still alive. We couldn't kill you, but we definitely wanted to make it to where you were a non-factor.
Quick now anachronism, page 440, about 2/3 of the way down, when they're talking about secrets. Corwin goes, "Does Macy's tell Gimbals?" Which nowadays would probably be, would Amazon tell Walmart? Like, you know, basically to kind of make the reference that, it's like,
okay, that's
trade corporate secrets.
I just completely like went through that. I was like, I don't know what this means, and I'm not going to look it up.
I love the response, beg pardon?
Yeah.
Because at no fucking point of reference. Like,
it makes sense for
Corwin.
For Corwin to say this because he lived on Earth for so long.
But
so
these
he
fucking Amberites don't fucking know all these Shadow Earth terms.
Julian's living in a forest most of the time. He don't know. He don't know what the fuck.
He don't
Macy's
give a fuck
is.
about Macy's.
But yeah, he just kind of catches them up on his side. Basically telling them like, yeah, we want you like as weak as possible. We, you know, and yeah, he tells him that Brand has all these powers that we didn't know about, that we don't have, or that we don't know about. He says Fiona has like similar powers, and Blaze might also, but they don't have. It took both of them to basically, you know, tamp down Brand's power. So he has more than either one of them. Yeah, and then we broke through and
I have to mention this because we glazed over it in chapter 2 when Corwin is going over all the things that happened in the previous 3 books and just mentions casually that he had casual sex with his great grandniece.
Yes.
When is it Benedict?
No, I think it's Julian.
It's Julian. Where it's like I said, in fact, you are more than a little cordial to her, referring to Fiona when she is about. Of course, Julian said, smiling. I've always been very fond of Fiona. She certainly is the loveliest and most civilized of us all. Pity Dad was always so dead set against brother-sister marriages.
That's probably the best thing that Oberon ever did. He also tells him that like,
so we've got this, we've got Game of Thrones. What is it about like fucking just pure on fucking just family fucking in fantasy novels?
I think it has a lot to do with a lot of kings and queens were incest.
That's
true. You got the Habsburg chin.
Keep the royal bloodline pure, as it were.
A lot of them were doing that, so that's seen as kind of like the royal thing to do. Julian also basically tells him, hey, Brand lied to you. Like, Blaze wasn't the one who shot your tires out.
Yeah, it was Brand who
it was
did it.
Brand. He absolutely did that.
Yeah.
And I think later on, Fiona, I think completely like tells him like 100% confirms it. Yeah, and they basically kind of actually end up on good terms.
Yeah,
with each other.
because Julian basically admits that he would much rather trust the Manticore that he just slayed than trust Brand at his word.
Yeah, they pretty much like just talk about how Brand's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him like, watch out for Brand, and he's like, yeah, well, if he comes by here, I'll murder the son of a bitch. But you know,
Chapter 10 has, I believe, 30 ellipses to begin it.
Oh.
yeah, this part I just kind of like I just kind of sped read through because I realized like it doesn't particularly
1976, 1977.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this was code to strike up your hash pipe and read this while you're high, and you will be there and you will experience all this, because this you will have a better option following Oil on Water and the colors therein than what's going on here.
I will admit, like the act of like moving quickly through shadow is something that like we have no frame of reference for.
Right.
So it's like it is a big chore, or a big it's very hard to realize like, how do I put this on the page?
Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing for us to have any type of comparison to.
No context.
Yes.
No.
So this is like a very like stream of consciousness part of the book. Now, to me, that doesn't make it fun or interesting to read.
Mhm.
Again, I just kind of like blew past all of this until I got to a place where they were actually real sentences. Because I got the gist, like I get it.
Yeah. I kind of visualize like, the scene in the Lord of the Rings movies when Frodo puts the ring on and everything's distorted.
Yeah,
And you can't make out what direction
things
you're
are
looking
happening
at.
very quickly.
Like the sun is all foggy and
Mhm.
yo,
Yeah, it's one of those where you just kind of have to come up with something in your head and just go with that.
because I'll just read like a little line here from this real quick. Let's see, where is it at?
Like I said, it's really just like a stream of consciousness.
It
thing.
is very, very, very weird.
Yeah, so he gets through this really esoteric part where he's he's moving through shadow. He's on his hell ride. He gets back to his house. The compost heap is gone. That's not there anymore. So he's like, fuck. Somebody's fixing up the house.
Yeah, he told the caretaker, Bill,
Yeah,
was it?
Bill.
To
Bill
sell the
Ruff.
house, and Bill sold the house, and someone moved the.
Well, he's fixing.
Wait,
he's in
he's
the.
fixing
He's in,
that
he's in
Right.
the, He's got a
Right.
contractor to fix
right,
everything.
right. And there was a line where someone said, "I don't ever want a good compost to go to waste."
Yeah, he then goes to Bill's house and just shows up on a fucking horse.
Bill, by the way, thinks that Corwin is a normal human being at this point.
Well,
I
after
think he's
after
always
his,
suspected there's something
he's suspecting
more.
something's off. Last book, he kind of got the hint that like things aren't normal, and he really gets the.
He's about to
he
really
really gets
get
the
that
hint.
idea.
And he tells him like,
Your
yeah,
ways of coming and going still tend to be colorful.
yeah. He basically tells him like, hey, he got this local contractor, and he's the guy who got all of the stuff from the compost because he didn't want it to go to waste, and he's put it out on his farm, I believe. So they resolve to go out there. They make it to the compost heap, and he finds out that this has been gone through. Like it's definitely not
Yeah.
here.
Well, in specific, like someone had showed up to the house, a redhead with a beard, and
Yeah.
he was a painter.
Oh,
no!
Yeah, he said he just wanted to paint. Like I felt about that.
And then he immediately goes, "Let's get on the Trump phone."
Yeah, he was like,
You
"Oh,
gotta-
shit."
I gotta start talking to my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, he figures out that he's got that Brand's got the jewel.
Gerard, I'm still mad at you about Brand. Well, Brand's a motherfucker,
Yeah.
and you need to stop him from fucking walking the pattern.
Brand's alive and well, and he's doing some fucked up shit.
You got to get this pattern. You got to get this pattern. You got to get this pattern.
You gotta get Rebma. You gotta get Amber.
Put some guards everywhere.
You know that Ghost City? Get up to Tiernan.
What about this other one? Fuck.
No. Fiona goes, remember, there's another pattern.
Yeah, Fiona
the primal
shows up.
pattern. Yes, you fucker, the primal pattern.
Then he yells,
Fiona, why did you stab Brand? Did you see?
Just telling you, like, because this is like Fiona does show up
on a horse.
On a horse.
They really love
well,
their horses.
she love their named horses. Up at no, she shows up on Earth, right?
Yeah, she shows
up on
she just shows up on Earth.
In front of Bill and the contractor. It's
in
like,
front
what
of Bill,
the fuck? It's
like out of nowhere,
and
basically.
like she talks with them while he was talking to Gerard. And Gerard even says, like, yeah, he showed up and then he saw me and then noped out of here.
Yeah.
Then Fiona contacts Corin, tells him, hey, Gerard, Brand's heading for the primal pattern.
Yeah, he's going. This part they go, oh, he's going to the primal pattern.
So this is when.
That's what she didn't tell him about Tiernan. She tells him about the primal pattern.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, you forgot that one. Fuck. Because he was like, well, wouldn't he have trouble with that one? He was like, no, that shit doesn't bother him. Yeah. All the black road shit on that.
He caused it, so of course he doesn't care about it.
So using Fiona's powers to get through Shadow quickly, they get there.
Well, he goes, hey, Bill, I'll tell you all about all this weird shit later.
Yeah.
Because Bill's like, I know something's going on now.
Yeah, he was like, maybe when all of this is done, I'll let you come to my home.
I'll tell you about everything.
I'll take you to my homeland.
Yeah. Fiona shows up on Corin's horse also.
Well, yeah, she was there. She got the horse and she came back.
Wasn't
Drum.
Yeah.
Star went with Random.
And while they're riding, like, he's like, well, hey, what really happened? He was like, yeah, Brand's the problem. We're not the problem, really. I stabbed him because he's gonna fuck shit up. Like, he wants to destroy everything, and we didn't want that. We just wanted to, have the throne.
Yeah, and we find out throughout all of this,
and this is where she like 100% says, like, he shot your tires out.
Yeah, he stabbed Martin. I mean, we found out.
Yeah, he stabbed Martin.
He put you through electrotherapy.
He put you through electrotherapy.
Yeah,
all the bad shit that's happened to you is Brand.
Yeah.
You thought it was Eric, but no, it's Brand.
Right.
He was actually he was finishing the job when the cops showed up, so he had to pretend like he was helping you. So they get to the pattern, and Brand is like part of the way through.
He's like halfway through it.
Yeah,
right,
he's like on the second layer of
whatever
yeah.
the fuck. We have no idea how the pattern actually looks, but it has these parts of it.
The second circle.
The second veil is where he's at.
Second veil. That's it.
And he's like, well, I can't catch up to him because you have to move slowly through the pattern. But if I can get like perpendicular, if I can get parallel to him, then I can just stab. I can kill him. But I don't want to stab him and spill blood because it's gonna fuck up the pattern.
Right.
Also, something that we didn't mention is he's been able to like sense the jewel since he's attuned to it. So he chases him down the pattern.
Yeah, he pulls his sword because his sword helps him guide.
Yeah, the sword gets him through the broken parts of the pattern somehow. Because it helped him get him through the Black Road earlier. Then he starts kind of fighting with Brand in the pattern
while he's madly smiling.
Yeah. Brand is just like insane. Like, he's just talking all this.
Didn't
crazy
they mention
shit.
before that the jewel would drive you crazy? Or was that just
they
like
said the jewel would like kill?
It would sap your
would
life.
sap your life.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't even know if like that's true.
Right.
We all that we know is like it does like do things to preserve your life at least.
So we've been building to this point right here.
So they're fighting,
Yep.
and then Corwin's like, I can't like stab him because then that's gonna spill blood all over the pattern, and then it's gonna fuck the pattern up.
But then he
worse.
comes to a realization that if he does that, at least they can try and fix it later instead of him doing what he wants to do.
But then he's like, let me try a little something. Let me try a little something. Let me think about a tornado.
He goes to reach out for the jewel, and the fucking tornado just above.
Yeah,
Bran.
he calls down a tornado.
And then there's also like a lightning
Bran.
strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it strikes. Yeah, the lightning strikes.
Yeah, he stormed from the X-Men's
because Bran was gonna throw his sword like a spear at Corwin, which doesn't actually work. And then the lightning strikes it like a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon.
You just see a skeleton like outside.
and then a fucking red tornado comes down and sucks up Brand.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Woo, that's gone. That's fine. Now I have to walk the whole pattern for no fucking
Yeah, because
reason.
you can't turn around.
You can't turn around in the pattern. Luckily, he doesn't write him walking through the pattern. They just cut to, okay, he's walked through the pattern.
Right.
And then they go, and then they come to the realization.
Real quick, Grace Wander has an effect on the damage on the pattern because that's how he's able to walk through the broken
Okay.
spots.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Then they realize like, okay, we have to now guard the pattern in Tirnanoth because there's patterns every fucking where. This is like this is like one of the most powerful thing, but apparently it's every goddamn where. There's like 18 of them.
Yeah.
Next
book there's gonna be another one somewhere that they're like, oh, we forgot about that one. But
Don't forget the pattern that rests inside you, Corwin.
yeah. Well, there is a pattern in the jewel, is what Dworkin said told him. But so they're trying to come up with a way to get to Tirnanoth because they're like, well, when the moon shines in it and it becomes real, Bran can just like teleport there because he has magic now.
Right.
And so, but I would have to walk the stairs, and that's going to take time. So I'm never going to get there. So luckily, Ganelin has an idea. I've gotten Benedict to walk the pattern here in Amber. So
I, a man from Shadow, and in no connection to the royal family, have convinced one of them to do this plant. Continue, sir.
Yeah.
He's really good at having these hunches.
He's at the center of the pattern now, so he can. So when Tirnanoth becomes, open, he can just teleport there and be in the room there to take on Brand.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, that's a really good idea. I'm gonna go to the base of the mount. I'm gonna go to the peak of the mountain to where the steps would be, to where if Tirnanoth, like if the moonlight gets covered up, I can pull back Benedict if shit goes sideways.
Right.
And shit goes sideways.
Yep.
They tell the plan works. Brand comes up there, and
Benedict is already there.
And Benedict is already there waiting for him, and he's really like
he's trying to convince.
You can feel that he's stuck. Yeah, he tries to convince Benedict to join him. He's like, yeah, we're just gonna wipe everything away, which is exactly what Dworkin wanted to do. And I'm gonna remake it in my own image, and I'm gonna meld together the Amber and the Courts of Chaos.
And we could build bigger armies, and then Benedict's like, why would you need
armies?
Yeah.
It's a really why if everything's perfect and it's a utopia, why would you need armies? Also, I can't remember when this is said, but sometime in this book, somebody says, and I think it's Bran. I can't remember if he says it when he's talking to Corwin or when he's having his Joker moment against Benedict. But he tells him like the Courts of Chaos are not a shadow of Amber. They are their own thing. It stands alone.
Yeah. Right.
Which I'm certain will be important probably in the next book.
Which is titled The Courts of Chaos.
Yeah.
Who would have imagined?
But all the while he's like maniacally talking to Benedict.
Yeah.
But he's slowly walking towards, edging his way up. And he finally gets close enough to Benedict to where the jewel activates. Surprise, he is at least partially connected to the jewel now, and it freezes Benedict. Like completely. It's not
Mhm.
even like Corwin calls it like a neurological thing, but it's
Right.
more than that because he can't even activate his trumps.
Right.
And I cannot remember exactly how they get out of that.
The magic hand.
Oh yeah,
The magic hand is not a part
so
of
the
him.
robot hand, he gets, Benedict is taunting him, and the magic hand comes alive and chokes the ever loving shit, grabs the jewel and chokes the ever loving shit
Yep.
out of Brand.
Meanwhile, clouds are forming over the moon, which will make
Yeah.
Tirnanoth disappear.
Yeah,
And they start
the
like
city-
kind of like slowly.
the city is disappearing.
Yeah.
Benedict has to, Brand has to has to break free of the chain that the jewel of judgment is connected to,
Mhm.
Around his neck.
because otherwise he's gonna choke to death.
Right.
So they both as the city fades, then Corwin is able to pull Benedict back with the jewel, and then
Good night, sweet prince.
they're like
That's actually a line in the book.
oh he
He fell into the ocean.
he fell, he probably died. No, he didn't die.
He didn't die.
The man has all these magic powers that nobody
They
knows
believe
about.
he dies.
So they're like, woo, well, we got that back, that's
Yep.
good.
We got the stone.
However,
but
Corn, there's something fishy going on.
all
Corn doesn't
this
like
time
this.
there has been this little foreshadowing thing where he's like, I feel like I have all the pieces, I just need to put them in the right place. And I feel, and every time he thinks about this, he's like, well, I feel like the pieces are clicking into place, and the pieces click into place, and he pulls out his dad's trump, and he was like, and Benedict's like, why are you doing this? This
This
makes
is
no
going to do
sense. This is
nothing."
gonna do nothing. He was like, well, let's fucking try. And they try, and they get a connection, and who's on the other end?
Hey
He-
guys.
He was smiling as he regarded us. Good evening. That was a fine piece of work, Ganelin said. I am pleased that you brought back my trinket. I'll be needing it soon.
So
He was Oberon all along.
yeah.
The king lives.
This Trump possibly couldn't work. Oberon's dead.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it anyway.
Mhm.
Oh,
Now,
let's.
question
Yep.
goes back to book one.
Yeah.
He tried pulling his father's trump card and got some sort of weird kind of like,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
he's alive, maybe
Yeah.
he's dead. What the
Right.
fuck's going on? Now it's like it was Ganelin all along.
That
Yeah.
old dude that he saved in, was it book 2? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, it was book
He
2
meets
because
Ganelin in book
in book
two.
two.
in Old Avalon.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
old Avalon.
Yeah, because he was one of his generals,
Right.
and he just tagged along.
Yeah.
and go
So
along
now
with
we're
him.
wondering, like, how long has Ganelin? How long has Oberon been Ganelin? Has it been the entire time,
Or just the time
or
in
just
which
this
Corwin
time when he
awoke.
meets back up with Ganelon?
Right.
Which probably doesn't really matter, but yeah. So Ganelin's been, Oberon as Ganelin has been basically like pulling the strings the whole time.
Mhm.
Everybody has a fucking Dworkin has an agenda. Oberon has an agenda. Corwin has an agenda.
Dara
Brand has an agenda. Dara has a fucking agenda.
Also-
Blaze has an agenda. Brand has an agenda.
Also,
all
by
will
the
be
way,
settled in book 5.
I hope
The
so.
Courts of Chaos, the final in the Corwin
In the
cycle.
Corwin saga, yeah.
also it was Martin who told Dara about the pattern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is revealed in the intro.
We passed over that.
Yeah.
Corwin meets Martin, and he tells him like the
Because
things that
Random
happened.
found him.
Random
Right.
found him, and he was like he didn't want to meet all of our kin
Because one of them
Because-
tried to stab him.
because one of them tried to kill him.
yeah, I mean,
For good
Um,
reason.
yeah.
So he just wanted to meet you because I said I vouched for you. I said you're a cool guy. He's a chill guy, so he'll listen. And he tells him that he met with Dara, and Dara is almost definitely related to Benedict. And she comes from
The Courts.
the Courts of Chaos. So
Martin told her about their
Benedict
fucked
got
up
busy with a
family.
demon or something.
The same demon that got his arm,
Yeah.
Yeah, Benedict
allegedly.
But then got him a new arm from T'Challa.
got
yeah.
him an Oberon hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't. That's the end of the book. Shit. I don't fucking know.
It was Oberon the whole time.
Yeah. It was Oberon
It was
all
me,
along.
Corin.
It was me the whole time.
There's I want to tell this just briefly about the old world, about Warhammer fantasy battles. There was an apocryphal story. It was untold. It was actually done in the end times. So there's a big meeting of all the lords of the empire, of the Empire Man, and they'll summon the elector counts, and they elect a von Karstein. They're vampires. They're not if they're and I can't remember. I think it was Manfred von Karstein is handed the hammer of Sigmar, the Warhammer of Warhammer, and Karl Franz, who'd been the loyal emperor and like devout and pious man, and he turns around and he goes, by the way, Manfred, do you remember the prophecy? What prophecy? Because he's a vampire. What the prophecy do you talk about? That was French. I apologize. That was
French
weird.
vampire.
No, he's from Eastern Europe. God damn it. He goes, no, it's like
he's French now.
that one day that if Sigmar were returned, the hammer would and he would be named emperor. It's like, yeah, okay, that's cool, Manfred. Boy, and he was Sigmar all along, and he got the hammer back, and that was cool. But yeah, no, that kind of notion just kind of just hits me at that. That's the best way to end in 3 lines. It's by the way, the king's here.
It's also the best way to name a chapter and just have that reveal the last sentence in the book. That's crazy.
Like the last reveal is the title of the book.
Yeah.
Well, you're thinking.
Are you telling me he
Conceptualization.
had his
Right.
hand in every aspect
He
of
did.
this
I
book?
thought
Well, yeah. But,
years ago, I thought the hand of Oberon would be the sweet fucking arm
Right.
that Benedict got.
Well,
No, it was legitimately Oberon.
there's
And
that,
his actual fucking hand.
when it comes to like fantasy stuff, especially around this time, and especially like the way that he's named these books, you're thinking of it's a thing or it's just like a concept.
A
You're not
metaphor.
thinking it is his literal hand moving chess pieces across the board.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
Yep.
I don't know.
But there's been some interplay with that because like sign of the unicorn. Okay, there was a 100% sign of the unicorn, and it led them to the unicorn, which led them to real amber.
Possibly
Yeah.
their
Then
mother.
you have the Guns of Avalon, which is a complete fucking feint.
Yeah.
Because they don't mean anything at the end of
Yeah.
it. They literally don't. So when it's literally Oberon fucking controlling everything, what is the Courts of Chaos going to be? Is it just it was all in amber the whole time?
I mean, that's quite possible.
We're gonna find out next year. As
my,
we bring
my guess is that that Dworkin and Oberon are from originally from the Chaos stuff.
I think Dworkin kind of admits that almost like in his discussions because we talked about because like before Amber we had this and our parents were fighting and all these things, and I think Amber was created.
It's
as kind of
hinted,
refuge.
but I think that's probably going to be it. That like the courts are the true thing, and then they created Amber.
Yeah, the Courts of Chaos are the actual
There's when all the stuff about Amber being like the true thing and everything else is shadow is kind of bullshit.
right,
Or
Which
at least it's more complicated than that.
Which is- yeah,
definitely.
because-
well, it's an easy lie to protect it.
because like
Mhm.
Corwin mentions because he's asked by somebody he's asked by Random's wife because of how much he talks about how much he enjoys being in Shadow Earth, and she goes, why not just like since you're having conflict with your siblings all the time, why not just like stay in the shadow of Amber? And he says, well, the thing about the shadow is that the people that are in it are not 100% the real person
Yeah.
that you're talking to.
The problem
You're
is
talking to a concept of a person.
the problem will be that I know that it's not the real.
I know
Amber.
that it's a concept of the person that
Yeah.
because you can't make a facsimile of a personality is
Mhm.
what he says.
Yeah.
Persona or whatever.
But yeah, that's the hand of Oberon. I thought this was decent. There were some very frustrating parts of it. This series hasn't like really like grabbed me still, but it's not terrible. I enjoy doing it.
This is my
I think what saves is that they're not. I think if these were longer books, I would probably have a more negative opinion of them. But they're short little things that you can just knock out very quickly. So
this is my favorite book in the series after Nine Princes.
mhm.
I think Nine Princes is such a very strong world building book.
Yeah,
Like,
it has the most interesting hook to it.
and so for me, that's where it kind of sits in there.
I think that for me, I in the series of the book, of course, in the series of Amber, I like this one a lot because besides the first book, there is like a culmination of things are tying up,
Yeah,
and there is a lot of shit going on outside of the exposition parts.
yeah.
And outside of the flashback, remembering what has happened, there's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, I'm hoping that things kind of get smoothed out in the next book, which is, like Alf said, the last in the first
Cycle.
half of it. And maybe things get pared down, because I, to be honest, I'm getting kind of weary of the plots within plots, and this person has a plot and this person has
Everyone's
a plot.
own personal agendas.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
think those all
it's-
kind of came out in this book near
It's
the
it's
end.
getting but we still don't 100% know a lot of stuff, and
That's true.
Dwar-
And I'm getting tired of it, to be quite honest. I think also I'm kind of getting me personally, I'm kind of getting a little bit. I'm glad that the next 5 books after the Courts of Chaos are going to be of a different character, because I'm kind of getting fed up with Corwin. He is not as, after that first book, and really and truly after he like gets his memories back, he's a less interesting protagonist to me. He's not a bad protagonist. It's just he's not as interesting to me, and I'm kind of getting tired of seeing things from his perspective. But it could also be the fact that this is going to be 5 books that are all from his perspective. Like, no, you were never in anybody. If he doesn't see it, you don't see it.
Right.
And that
Would you consider him an unreliable narrator? The character?
Yes, but because like people are just keep telling him lies.
Sparsely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I think when he's, I think when he's in his instincts, I think there's nobody in the family that matches him.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he's handling true information at a time where he can sit down and deal with it, that's right. It's just that he trusts, but he doesn't necessarily take time to verify. Like, he goes
Yeah.
out to verify, but there's stuff that Bran tells him, especially starting in the 3rd book, that he takes as gospel, and it requires a chance. And I won't even say that's a chance meeting. I say that's his instincts telling him to go through the Forest of Arden, because that's probably where Julian is.
Mhm.
But it takes a meeting with Julian and Fiona, the other side of the coins from what happened that night, to fill out the other end of it. So yeah, like this, I'm looking forward to ending this.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm looking forward to see how Courts of Chaos ends this, and how it sets the stage for the Merlin saga, which will be the next 5 books in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was The Hand of Oberon. Spoilers.
Spoilers for a almost 50-year-old book series.
Yeah.
50 and almost the series is 50 years old if you want to go back to Nine Princes. So it's
On an
it's
almost 50-year-old
a
book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Again, copyright 76, so it's 49 years this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to give our thanks to MacNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi, for providing us this wonderful studio space from which we can record this product to send out to your ears. God Emperor of Gaming, Cameron Spanier, would ask you to buy Aether Drift in all of its various forms. As of this date, they still have pre-release boosters. They got play boosters, and they have collector's editions as well.
I got me a loot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shadow Dark is in the house. If you like simple rules RPG, but set in a more kind of classic style, check out the Shadow Dark book. They also have the Marvel RPG, Marvel Multiverses role playing system available, along with, I believe, the Cataclysm of Kang and Deadpool role plays the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
They've got Morkborg as well.
Morkborg, and do they still have Pirate and Cyborg?
I know I saw Morkborg in there earlier today. I cannot remember. Maybe they have Cyborg. They might not have Pirate Borg.
Rules light, everything else heavy. There you go.
Mhm. Yep.
So, bus is pulling in the station one more time around the room. My name is James McCarthy.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm Jody Kate.
I'm Bray Davis.
We have been travelers on the omnibus. Thank you for enjoying the ride. Bye-bye.
We have no idea what we're doing next week.
Absolutely
No,
not.
No, we don't. Ethan's hosting.
It'll be a surprise to all of us.
You know what? Ethan's hosting.
Gotcha. I'm hosting.
Cool.
But you don't necessarily decide what we're doing.
Gotcha. Cool.
I mean, you can do that. That takes a load off me. it can't offend anybody. He's dead.
I heard that.